Good shot, kid. I think you got him.
Downtown, speeding all around. The Nikki 47 got the power and it's bound to move any mother that gets in the way. Just another power machine on the freeway. Riding with me is my MC homeboy, knowing the rules ain't part of his program. Finding the right way around this map might be pretty hard cause he's fucked on crack. G, Grand Theft Auto, you gotta make a mark and move where you want to. T, that determination to steal what you can and run from the nation. Hey.
Oh man, that song hits a lot harder than I remember. I can never forget your first one. So anyway, awesome guys. Welcome back to another class of Gaming Academy with yours truly, GQAzndood. We got a lot to cover tonight. Man, there's some drama in the gaming streets today, including some big shakeups in the gaming industry. There's a lot of stuff we need to cover, so hopefully we'll get through it all. But in quick bites, we'll be discussing the shocking closure of the Monolith Productions by WB Games, which likely means the end of my favorite Nemesis system that I was hoping to see in other games. But crossing my fingers that something happens with that. I think it's one of the most innovative mechanics in modern gaming. But like I said, it's very unique. But don't worry, we got some good news too, and to balance out the bad news, I'm so shook up by this Nemesis System thing, and hopefully we get things figured out. But anyway, for this week in gaming history, we're taking a deep dive into some of the most fun games out there released, including the Dynasty Warriors series, and just how many releases this franchise really has had over the years. Seriously, there's a lot of them. I'm pretty sure Ace is so happy to hear that. Then in the tech, speaking of Ace, Blazing Ace Nelson breaks down the Buster Sword in God Eater, exploring its mechanics and other playstyles, why it's a beast of a weapon. And of course, we're bringing out Yo, Check This Out again to showcase some of the wild and nostalgic retro gaming ads that will have you either shaking or laughing in your head in disbelief. But regardless of that said, class is in session. Grab your controller. Let's get into it. Take a seat, and let me introduce you to the faculty as always. So let's get things going over here. All right. So the first things first, I want to introduce, of course, the I don't want to say professor, but more like the instructional director of the tech, aka Blazing Ace Nelson.
Hey, what's good, class? Good to see y'all. It's been a long week, but I can tell you right now, this week probably does not feel as long as the last 24 hours has, considering all the chaos that's going on in the industry, let alone in the hobby. I mean, we've got a lot to cover, and honestly, I'm hoping we actually have time for the tech tonight, considering. But if not, well, we continued.
We got a palette. Oh my god, I'm so disturbed by the Nemesis story. We got a padded syllabus tonight. Not only that, we're gonna get the top news from all over the place here, and the one to bring you that tonight is always the Tragically Elite. Where are you at, man? Hold on, there we go. I'm figuring this out.
The palette of news before us.
I almost said the pillibus. I almost said the pillibus of news.
Yeah, you got it, man. I mean, we got that song as a banger to get us started. We need that energy tonight. It is. I was telling these guys right before we started, like usually I try to get the news over like this last week and take a little snapshot of just the cool stuff to keep abreast of. Everything changed in the last like 24 hours. So yeah, after a slow weekend, I think for all of us, we had a bunch of other stuff going on. All of a sudden, it just all popped off in the last 24. So that song got me going already. I'm ready.
All right, well, let's just keep going, and as we know, let's go check out our gaming retro ads. Got something to say? Anybody? No? Good. All right, well, with that said, let's check this out.
Yo, check this out.
All right. Oh, this was last week's. All right, let me fix that for you guys.
Oh.
I was just so struck by that artwork. I couldn't.
Yeah. especially the Red Skull every time.
Yeah, it's literally just a red skull. So over the weekend, if you guys are fighting game fanatics, Fluffy, Chop, welcome to the chat as always. A little beta called Fatal Fury City of the Wolves had come out, and I tried it out for a little bit, and it's pretty cool. So I figured that this is the most appropriate ad that I want to kind of circle back to, if you guys remember this ad at all. So this was I think the official like pamphlet, because back then it was, it was just physical media that Takara had given out to distributors or whatever to like, hey, these are our games. But this one specifically was Fatal Fury. And why this one was important is because this one is technically the rival of Street Fighter. And like I said, on the podcast we talk about competition breeds innovation, and Fatal Fury is as such because history taken. And Ace, you may know, you both know more than this than I do. But I hear that Fatal Fury and SNK are mostly previous Capcom employees, right? And that was one of the reasons why, if you finish a Capcom game or any game back in the 80s, they would have really weird code names for the developers because they were afraid of getting poached by the competition. So it was, like kind of like Ninja X as your executive producer, something like that. But yeah, that was super interesting. And I figured that this was very appropriate since the beta had come out for City of the Wolves. Did any of you guys play the beta at all this weekend?
Surprisingly enough, I didn't.
No? Yeah, that's surprising, brother. Something must have went down.
Well, I mean, I'd already heard a little bit about what was going on with, the issues that the beta was actually having with the matchmaking. But I mean, while I had figured that would likely be the case because, the open beta is largely for, network stress testing. What I was really hoping for was like, something more of a demo, maybe like, one or two characters in practice mode where we can just, get in and just, mess around with the mechanics.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, we didn't get that. And since we didn't get that, I figured, you know what? I've already got the deluxe edition pre-ordered, so I'll just bide my time.
All right.
24, I'm going to jump right in there.
Yeah, that's fair. And honestly, it was a beta because it was testing out the lobbies for the multiplayer, because that seems to be SNK's kind of like a weak spot ever since Samurai Showdown. I felt like their lobbies really rough. Their like menu, like their UIs are usually pretty rough too. And that's kind of like my big takeaway from it. Aside from the game feeling, my first time touching it, I can't have any, I guess, like real kind of like comments about it, just because I have to play it more. But as far as my experience of like with the menus and the lobbies and stuff, it was kind of clunky. And as a fighting game person, like Tekken has been the best experience when it comes to like finishing a match, starting a new match, and this one was not that. And I only tried room battles, and I did a little bit of ranked. And ranked, I only had 3 matches, so I don't know what's up with that, but I heard there were some connection issues also.
Yeah, but aside from the connection issues, though, like to counterbalance that, a lot of the matches that were showcased at various tournaments and the exhibitions that happened, there was some incredible stuff just being shown off through the gameplay.
Oh yeah, I mean the game definitely has some spice for sure, and I've gotten a feel of it, and as a first time touching the game, it kind of feels like KOF 13 and 15 had a baby, right? And that's kind of a weird thing to say, but you'll see once you play it. Like it has that feeling of like dream cancels and and then the what he calls the SP system and Goro, right?
Uh-huh.
So you can tell they kind of grab like, what do fans like? Let's put it in this game. But I only scratched the surface. I only played one character also, so there's a lot of stuff I've missed out yet. But I can see from what like all the the tenured people that have been playing it, they've been doing some good stuff out there. So that's awesome. All right, what we got here? What else we got? What else we got? All right, I closed the dock.
Oh
no.
But really quickly, before you get to the next ad, it just brings up, with Takara being the publisher. I mean, Takara published a lot of SNK games You know, I mean, they published Fatal Fury, they published Samurai Showdown, but I also remember Takara for publishing, like the portable stuff too, like KOF 94 and 95 on the Game Boy, and also Battle Arena Shinden.
Yep, they did a bunch of stuff too, and I don't know why. I mean, I think somebody in chat please fill us in, but you know how kind of like Acclaim was like Midway's kind of publisher at the time, right? And so I think Takara kind of took that up, and Takara was also, they made like toys.
Yeah,
they made like Transformer toys at the time too. So and this is kind of further like emphasizes like video games are considered as toys in the market in the 80s still, right? We kind of don't see that anymore, right? But according to the industry, or not video game industry, but like, stock markets and stuff like that, they're still considered toys. So, all right, let's go to the next one here. And this one, I actually have a good memory, kind of. But like, so once that loads up there, you guys can kind of see it is Battletoads on the Nintendo. But yeah, compared to Battletoads, Turtles seem like pond scum. That's a little jab at Ninja Turtles because they're edgier and cooler than the Ninja Turtles. So from what I remember, Battletoads is like the 90s, like, what are they? Anthropomorphic?
Anthropomorphic?
Anthropomorphic. Yeah,
something like that.
Something like that. They were like the later versions of the Ninja Turtles. They were like edgier.
Well, they're badass names. Do you remember the names of all three?
Rash
Yep. And then and then like their enemies were rats and bulls. It was really strange. So, and this was also the time of like cartoons that had more characters like this, like Biker Mice Mars, Cowboys of Moo Mesa, right? Bucky O'Hare, right?
Cowboys of Moo Mesa, nice call out.
Hell yeah, dude! Nobody ever remembers the Cowboys of Moo Mesa. SWAT cats, right? Right, those cats that fly jets, so it's it's pretty great.
Top Gun.
Yeah, and actually, there's a beat 'em up for Cowboys in Moo Mesa, and also Bucky O'Hare in the arcade. Konami seems to be big on that, and there was also a isometric racing game for Biker Mice and Mars. So it was a lot of that stuff. That was the hip thing at the time. So, chat, if you guys are remembering all these, hold on to your butts, because there was a lot of that back then. If you guys remember all that, so. Awesome. I do love this, considered one of the hardest games on the Nintendo due to that stupid stage in the turbo tunnel stage.
Yep.
So, but honestly, it's not that hard once you remember the pattern, just like any game there is, right?
I am shit at it.
Yeah. If you're bad at it, then that's the rough. I'm sorry to hear that.
But I also appreciate a couple of the other games that are being advertised on this splash page with Battletoads, like Double Dragon on the Game Boy, Off Road, and Fast Break.
Oh, Super Off Road, man! I played the hell out of that. There was a couple arcades. Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I visited my family in Wisconsin, go up to a place called Elkhart Lake, and at the hotel there, I just remember they had a little like one of those like it's in the hotel lobby, like tucked off in a corner, a little arcade center for like kids, and they had one of those there, but it was like one of the 3-person ones. I put all my quarters into that one. I loved playing that one.
Heck yeah!
Did you get that was the one with the wheel, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was the 3 wheels. It was like a 3-person setup, and you just like spin it just nonstop.
All right, fun trivia. Who was the man sponsoring Iron Man Racing in Super Off Road?
Stan something or other.
I'm not sure actually, but I think it's Tony Stewart.
Yeah, it was Tony Stewart.
Yeah, Tony Iron Man Stewart.
I remember that because one of the other major racers actually had a pretty baller Super NES game that I always played all the time.
Ivan Stewart's Super Off Road.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Ivan Stewart. Okay. All right. Well,
Ivan Stewart and Al Unser Jr.
Al Unser Jr. was F1, wasn't he?
F1, but also
like Baja.
Indy.
Is that what it was?
Rally.
Okay, Rally. That's kind of what.
F1 and rally racing.
But yeah, there was. The wheel in the arcade is super cool. I wonder if I can get an image of that. It's just a cool thing to see. So let's go. Super Off Road. Super Off Topic. Arcade machine. This is one of those things, chat. It's like a relic of the past, and if you're like Galloping Ghost, you'll probably see one of these. And Galloping Ghost is like one of like the premier arcades in United States. But this is the arcade machine. We weren't kidding when there's 3 wheels.
Yeah.
Literally 3 wheels and a pedal.
It was iconic for me. Yeah, with the 3 colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was another arcade that did this. It was also a racing game. It was top down, and it was published by Tengen on a Nintendo. Anybody remember?
I don't remember that one. I just remember with this one, the wheels never stopped. You can
Yeah, it kept going. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, the game I'm referring to is Super Sprint. Also did the same thing.
Got it.
With the wheel. All right, chat. So if you guys are arcade junkies like us over here, you know exactly what we're talking about. Speaking of junkies, here's a game that I feel like a lot of people would appreciate if they're a fan of the series. Look at this ad. Right?
I love it!
I love this ad. It's just so moody. It's so cool. It kind of, even though this was like probably mid 90s, maybe early mid, right?
Mm-hmm.
It still had that like same layout that they always did with like Konami and Ultra games. They had the big image in the back and then like little screenshots with like the text like surrounding it. Very iconic of this like marketing team that did it for Konami.
No, I appreciate that. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Arguably the most underrated Castlevania because it was on the Genesis, because typically Castlevania is on a Nintendo system at the time. This was also, you had multiple characters to pick from with this, and also extremely edited for the Western release, right? I think they made like the main character, the other one that had the spear, was actually a woman in the Western release or in the Japanese release, and they made him to a man in the US release. It was really strange. I don't know why the change, but probably had to do with something at the time. Like
I remember Bloodlines. That was one of the harder games to get onto Genesis too. Was that like end of the life cycle kind of release for that one?
Yeah, I do recall seeing, like, I relate Bloodlines with the Gen 2 model, right?
Yeah.
Because I've never seen it pop in the machine that has a Genesis 1 model in it. So this is how I remember it.
Yeah, I remember there was 2 boxes for it, just having worked at the store. There was a plastic one and a cardboard box release for it. The cardboard one typically, of course, is pretty easy to get beat up.
Is the latter one too, because they were originally in the plastic and then they switched it to cardboard later. Oh, you're right, man. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's right. One of the added values of getting a Genesis game was it came with actually a cardboard box, or not a non-cardboard box, like a plastic box with like a little shell and the insert for your game. It was super cool.
Yeah, it's about the time we started getting the Sega 32X games came in cardboard boxes too.
Yeah, and I think that was a huge downgrade, but I get it. They're trying to save money. It's always kind of going to be that way it is. Like,
I mean, I'm sure one of these days we'll talk about that add-on if we ever do like a retro breakdown for a generation or something, because there's a lot of stuff that went into that Sega CD era that was oof.
No, it's true, and I'm actually surprised Saturn didn't go. Unless I missed it, they didn't go down the CD Jewel case. They kept the long box.
It was the long jewel cases.
Yeah, but they never shrank it, right? They never shrank it. They committed to they committed to the long one, right? Because the Sony,
except in the Japanese market.
Yeah, you're right. The Japanese one always had the smaller one.
Because they had like the really cool looking like gold Sega Saturn label on it.
Mm-hmm.
A much cooler one than the weird S.
It's so weird, and it's like I said, like you said, it's a fun thing to talk about, like the differences of like East and West back in the day, and like why would they make these decisions at the time. So super cool. All right, next one is actually a what do you call this? A reference that came from a movie, and hopefully you guys know which movie that is. Chat, I'll put it on the screen right now. Now, not necessarily the image, but the title of the game. Can anybody guess which movie we're talking about?
Let's go!
Well, we can.
we're nerds, that's why. So hopefully chat knows. Yeah, let's give him a shot. But let's talk about this, right? So the game's called Clash at Demon Head. Not a good job of showing you the title of the game. Let's just start with that because it's kind of hidden, right?
And he's pointing at it with his laser.
That's true. Shooting the mouth of that alien. How violent. Victor Kai also was another, like, to me, a popular publisher at the time, and they were always releasing like these really janky, like, Japanese-ish games. Whether it's a shoot 'em up or like some sort of like copy of Adventure Zelda, right? Something like that. And they were always kind of, like I said, they were always kind of weird and like. Eccentric, I should say. Like, even this one has 80s sci-fi kind of linked into it, but like,
yeah, it definitely does.
What's awesome is this biker dude that's just flying over here, shooting at the same time. Where did his legs go? That's all I'm saying. It's kind of
in the
funny.
future. You don't need legs; you're bolted directly into your hover bikes.
Yeah, you just fly directly. But yes, the reference I'm talking about is the Clash of Demon Head is the band from Scott Pilgrim, the movie, where it's his ex-girlfriend's band, where he fights Superman, the vegan Superman.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you guys forgot, now you know, and this is where it's from. Clash of Demon Head. All right. So last one for the night. I think I added this because this was also in our This Week in Gaming History. Little throwback. Throw it back. Throw it in the pit. All right. Little cute ad there for this wholesome game. Also got released last year, like late last year. Every town has its secrets. Some are darker than others. Welcome to Silent Hill. Please check your sanity at the door. You're Harry Mason. You've crashed your car outside of town. Your daughter is missing. And soon you'll discover Silent Hill is no ordinary quiet town. In fact, it's a little too quiet. Pass between the real world and a demonic, nightmarish world rendered in real-time 3D, where you'll be on the edge of your seat at the edge of madness. Wow, these are ads, bro. These are ads. So...
And I mean, like, not even just reading the text, but just looking at the page itself, just that whole thing just sets a mood.
It is like the text itself, right? Like not reading it, but like the font, right? Mm-hmm. Just yells out, "No way!" according to Smoking Scorpio over here. So yeah, it is a rough ad, very moody. Sure. Konami got two Konami ads tonight in there. But yeah, that is it for Yo Check This Out. All right.
Yo, check this out.
I think I had the ending to this too. No, that's not it. I had it here somewhere. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for that. How about we talk some This Week in Gaming History? All right. I'm all over here, boys. Oh, that's the old one. Where'd my buttons go? my buttons.
Uh-oh, better figure that out.
I know what's happening here. We gotta do this.
It ain't a session at the Gaming Academy without some technical difficulties.
Dude, you don't.
Yeah, where's the AV club on this? Gotta help us out.
There you go. Gosh,
I will never get tired of that.
That sets you in a good mood, That should be a wrestling intro somewhere. I mean, in some alternate universe, it probably is, to be honest with you. So, all right. So this week in gaming history, let's get going here. Where we go? Where's my song?
My helmet.
Where's my song? All right, now just loading. All right, this week in gaming history, February 23, Shadowrun in 19. What am I looking at here? I was like looking at the anime artwork, not the letters. So I was like, what am I looking at here? Shadowrun in 1996 for the Sega CD in Japan. Now like I said last time, I said I was gonna choose the box art of what was on the screen as far as the caption goes. And man, this is way different than the US version of Shadowrun. So, and I like what I'm seeing here. It's the beginning of the blue-haired protagonist in Fire Emblem. So, and this is very 90s artwork also, very 90s, super cool. And if you guys aren't familiar with Shadowrun, it is a cyberpunk RPG. that's the best thing I can say, right? Like Blade Runner ish, right? So super cool. You guys played Shadowrun or played any Shadowrun games?
I played some of the later ones. I didn't play the OG.
Oh, like you played like the PC ones?
Yeah, I played the PC ones.
Tabletop,
I remember
let's go.
right before the Hong Kong one came out too. I remember talking to the
Yeah, there's
Max.
Dragonfall.
Yeah,
I played all of them because they were so good. They were so good. I mean, they were budget also, and I was just like in this Shadowrun like tangent, so I played all three of them at the same in sequence. And I didn't even know if I did it in the right order. I just played them all. So, you got something on the screen? All right, let's see y'all. Look at that guy. Yeah, as you guys are perusing through that, I'll just shout out a few other games that came out on the 23rd of February. Front Mission Gun Hazard on the Super Nintendo in 1996 in Japan. Metal Slug 2 in the arcade in 1998 in Japan. Project Snowblind, and I think that was a third-person shooter, on Xbox in 2005. Baten Kaitos Origins and the GameCube in 2006 in Japan. Suikoden 5 on the PS2 in 2006 in Japan. Heavy Rain on the PS3 in 2010. Deadly Premonition on the 360 in 2010. Far Cry Primal on the PS4, Xbox One in 2016. Nier Automata PS4 on 2017 in Japan. And a little title called Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet on the PS4, Xbox One, PC in 2018. I think I have a copy of Suikoden 5 here somewhere. We'll see. Have you guys played any Suikoden games at all?
I did. Go ahead, Ace.
I was going to say, I've played 1 and 2, and I'm definitely looking forward to the HD remasters coming up soon.
Oh, isn't this like $300? I just have it like laying around here. Yeah, Suikoden 5. I think I have.
That one isn't no.
This one's complete, baby. Let's go. Oh yeah, this is like $2. So. Yeah, no, I'm actually excited for that remaster as well. I'm not spending $200 on the PlayStation version of Suikoden. I also want a physical copy. I know it's out on download, but I do want a physical copy of it. If you guys know, I was playing a game called Eiyuden Chronicle mid-late last year, and that was technically the spiritual successor to Suikoden, right? Not made by the same people, but they kind of got inspired by that.
Yep.
So, pretty cool. Have you guys played anything on this list at all? Bytes and Kaitos, Metal Slug. I mean, we did Run and Gun already last week.
I did play Fatal Bullet because at the time I was really into Sword Art Online, and I liked the idea behind it. That was before every anime started doing like isekais, and I got taken into my VR MMO game, kind of like things that we see everywhere. So I got really into it early on. I wanted to see what they did with the games, and by the time Fatal Bullet came around, it was like the third one that had come out, and they all played almost exactly the same. So for me, it was like a little disheartening. I mean, that's the wrong word for it. I got bored really quickly with it, which is too bad.
Shovelware, huh?
It kind of felt like it. The game didn't change enough, and the kind of big thing about the world that seemed cool was it was like the gun gale stuff. So it's like you could be melee or you could do guns, and like the crossover with it. So yeah, no, it felt like shovelware. I'm not gonna like disparage the devs that worked on it. It was more than just shovelware. It just felt like it when the main mechanics don't play. That kind of thing when you boot up a game, you're like, this plays exactly like what I've played before with
right, like Dynasty Warriors.
yeah, right, Ace.
Yeah,
no, I feel you on that, man. Like when you release specifically anime arena fighters, they all kind of end up being the same. So you're kind of like just playing another version of the game with more characters. Maybe like another attack or something like that. So I totally understand that. It's just the whole full price thing of the next game coming out just bugs me, right? It could have been DLC. That's all I'm saying. Right. All right. Next,
me,
go ahead.
I was about to say, for me, aside from Metal Slug 2, Nier Automata is the big one on that for me.
We did have something for the year that does tie into what we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, sadly, I was going to say in 2010, Warner Brothers acquires majority stake in Rocksteady Studios. If you guys don't know who those are, devs of the Arkham games and Hitman Absolution. We all know Justice League game that came out last year. RIP. But yeah, that was the time, and makes me sad that we're talking about Warner Brothers. Well, also happy at the same time. So
Sad but happy.
hopefully things change. All right. Next day on the 24th, Lufia 2 or Lufia, Rise of the Sinistrals was my game of choice, just because I wanted something to compete with Final Fantasy, right? And this kind of gave me that, like, it was like the other RPG you should be playing during that time instead of Final Fantasy 3 and 2, right? And this was I forgot who developed this. It's like Kenko, I think.
Taito was the publisher.
Yeah. Another super rare game, guys. If you guys, Shinonami knows what's up. Lufia, let's go. But yeah, it's just one of those RPGs where if you played Final Fantasy, you like more of the same, but not made by the same, right? Check it out when you get a chance. Another super rare game in the retro gaming collecting market. Other games released on the 24th, Front Mission was also released, just regular Front Mission in 1995. So we're going backwards, but just on a different day. And then Lufia 2, this one, Silent Hill on the PlayStation in 1999, just like that ad. That was very 1999. Fear Effect on the PlayStation in the year 2000. Dynasty Warriors 5 on the PS2 in 2005 in Japan. And of course, why not another one? Samurai Warriors 2 came out on the PS2 in 2006 in Japan. Same day, too. It was pretty cool. Star Ocean, The Last Hope on the 360 in 2009. Dragon Ball Xenoverse on pretty much everything in 2015. And Dynasty Warriors 8 Empires in 2015 as well. Came out on everything. And Hollow Knight on the PC in 2017. And Octopath Traveler 2 on the PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC in 2023. Jeez, that was not that long ago. Crazy. All right, Ace, let's talk Warriors. What you got?
So yeah, this was a pretty big day. Like February 24th just seems like the day that Koei Tecmo tries to aim for when it comes to, or at least tried to aim for when it came to releasing their, previous generation Dynasty Warriors games. Dynasty Warriors 5 and Samurai Warriors 2 were, because of the success of those two games, that actually led to them developing Warriors Orochi. So that, that crossover, I guess you could call it the Muso KOF, right?
Yeah. I'm curious though. I don't see when did they release Orochi Warriors? Because I feel like it would be this date, right? Just different year.
Yeah, I feel like it would be. I forget what day Warriors Orochi released.
Gotcha.
I'll have to double check that. But either way, like the big thing about Dynasty Warriors 5 and Samurai Warriors 2 is that at that point, those games were the most technically sound and the most polished iterations of those series, from rosters to the different mechanics. I mean, even like the weight system, the weapon weight system introduced in Dynasty Warriors 5, although there was some back and forth, there was a little bit of mixed reception for it. The game itself was still, like, before 7, it was still one of the best in the series in terms of storytelling and in terms of, again, the rosters, the character design, the mission layouts. Everything was just, it took everything that Koei and Omega Force had learned and perfected over the course of the previous games and the Extreme Legends installments.
Yeah. I can vouch for that, because if you, as a PS2 owner, have all from Dynasty Warriors 2 all the way to, I would say 5, not even 6, because technically 6 was made for PS3. If you play 2 and you play like Extreme Legends 5, right? You can tell even from a performance aspect like they figured it out, like how to put more characters on the screen without any slowdown, and like Ace said, like to make it feel different than the other, like from the range when you first played Dynasty Warriors 2 from the way it is now. It's almost like night and day as far as quality and also perform. I think performance is the big one because you're still playing on the same system, right? But they just figured out how to optimize it so to a point where it feels like it's a real polished game, right? So I can vouch for that.
Yep, and also, you know, while Dynasty Warriors 4 was the first one to introduce, you know, custom characters, Dynasty Warriors 5 had an entire mode. It was Destiny mode. I mean, the tagline for Dynasty Warriors 5 is "My fight, my life." They put emphasis on you.
It did not need to go that hard.
It didn't need to, but they did.
Creed song right there.
But yeah, they put emphasis on basically, you know, putting you through world tour mode. You know, you create your character and you literally start off as a peon. You have a limited move set with one of the starter like spear or sword, and then you actually team up with one of the generals. You basically, you know, join them as part of their army, and you eventually get to the point where, you know, you get that general's weapon and you can fight using them.
All right. That's super cool. And that was like one of the, I kind of checked out of Dynasty Warriors after 4. Like 3, I like 100%ed. I maxed out every character. This was the 4 achievements, right? Got every weapon. 4, I was like, cool. Like I'll play this a little bit, right? And then I get burnt out. Then 5, I was like, I've already had enough of Dynasty Warriors. Not enough of a difference for me. So, but I did switch to Samurai Warriors. That's the funny part. I still played the same game, just different aesthetic, right?
Oh yeah.
So, and that's how they capture you as a market share, you know, audience and fan, right? So that's the trick. But yeah, my thing for this one was really Hollow Knight. You know, I had a what do you call this? Back in 2023, I think I started playing Hollow Knight. I was introduced to me by a girlfriend at the time, and she was like, "You like Symphony of the Night? Check out Hollow Knight." Which is kind of ironic how it sounds the same. No, it's super cool. And when I thought I had beaten the game, she was like, no, there's more. And so that was a really fun experience. And, you know, I got a lot of value out of playing like my $3 Steam game, right? So, and I just like those search action games anyway. They're super fun for me. So,
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that list, guys?
Not on that day.
Nope.
Not on that day. No one played Fear Effect?
I didn't play Fear Effect. I did play Star Ocean: The Last Hope, but that was my first Star Ocean, so I didn't have too much to say about it. Other than I was completely new to it.
It was The Last Hope. Speaking of Takara, King of the Monsters was released in 225 in Japan in the arcades. Later ported over on the Super Nintendo, just like all the SNK games. And no box art. I did find a box art for it, but this is the one that's in best condition. This was primarily the main artwork, so super weird, super. It reminds me of like if Rampage was Japanese.
Pretty much.
That's what it would look like. But do you, Nick? Do you have King of Monsters video by any chance?
I can take a look. Are you looking for the original like Neo Geo arcade?
Yeah. Like if you have the video for the gameplay of the arcade or Super Nintendo, it's been released on a variety of different things. I'll pop it on the screen for the chat. Super cool game. It's technically a fighting game mixed with wrestling, and the whole city is your ring/arena. And arguably one of the first kaiju games I've ever played, sans the Godzilla game with a Nintendo, right? Because that game was rough. That game was, for me, Godzilla on Nintendo was basically Mothra, because I just picked Mothra the whole time.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Pretty much like how Rampage for me was, what's his name? The wolf. Ralph, the one that was left out on the Nintendo version, unfortunately. So it was George and Lizzie. Other games that came out on the 25th. You got it? All right. Yeah, here we go. You guys can watch that while I talk about this. That's the good stuff.
Other games that came out on the 25th, Monster Rancher 2 on the PlayStation in 1999 in Japan. This is old. What the heck? Did I just totally skip this? Yeah, this is like Wayne's World on it and everything. This is from last year. Is it the same one? Oh no, it's like mixed. I already said that one. Lords of Shadow 2. You guys remember that from last week or no?
Mhm.
It's new, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Lords
no,
of
no, no. I remember the game. We didn't talk about Lords of Shadow.
Okay. Lords of Shadow 2 on the PC, on PS3, 360, 2014. Jet Set Radio on the Xbox in 2002. I think that was a re-release. No, that's the original one.
Yeah.
Tales of Symphonia Chronicles on the PS3 in 2014. Plants vs. Zombies in Garden Warfare, Xbox One, 360 in 2014. And I want to talk about that here in a second. Thief on pretty much everything. It was a re-release of an original game back in like 1995, I think. Dragon Quest Heroes, The World's Trees, Woe, and the Blight Below. What a title. On the PS4 in 2015 Japan. Speaking of Dynasty Warriors,
I was
that's
about to say, which is oddly enough another new one.
the ever popular Ghouls and Ghosts Resurrection on Switch in 2021. I always want to delete that on the spot. And a little game called Elden Ring came out on a variety of consoles in 2022 and also the PC. So, yeah.
That
King of the
Thief
Monsters?
release was a reboot, wasn't it? I thought that was a reboot. It was a full-on reboot.
I don't know if it was a reboot, but like it was definitely a remake, or it could have been a reboot, I guess, of the original game on the PC.
Yeah.
So it was, and I think I watched a documentary on that. Yeah, I remember watching a whole documentary on that game, because apparently like the producers or the publishers wanted like a more action game, because this was out during the time of like Gears of War, right? And so they were like, we need a more action oriented, not stealth. That's not what sells, right? And they were like pushing back on it so much, and they kind of just got what we got at the end result of that. If I find this article or this video documentary on Thief, I'd love to share it with you guys.
Yeah, definitely share it, because it looks like it was a reboot, because it's a revival of the cult classic Thief series.
Yeah, and that's what I remember. It was definitely like the original had come out, and they were like, let's bring this game back into a more modern console. But my game of discussion was Plants vs. Zombies, because what happened to Plants vs. Zombies? Has it been limited to a mobile game now?
It flew too high, too fast, and burned out. It burned its wax wings and fell back to earth. I think it was a matter of like it too much. Like it was saturated. Like it was everywhere for a little bit, and that was definitely at a time when like mobile gaming was just starting to like really blow up, and they're trying to figure out things with that before things became heavily monetized. And what we talked about with Valve pushing back on games having like ads as like a revenue source or an energy source kind of thing, and like not including that. Like that was the hot and fast. I just remember that was one of those early games. That was like Candy Crush. Like everyone had Plants vs. Zombies.
Well, this one specifically, Garden Warfare, was like the Call of Duty version of Plants vs. And the reason why
it felt more like a MOBA almost, like a hero shooter.
kind of. And the reason why I bring it up is because when Nick and I used to work at the store together, parents would come in and be like, "Is there a game like Call of Duty, but that's not Call of Duty?" And we're like, "How old's your kid?" "Oh, he's like 10. Well, I don't know. Grand Theft Auto 5 we should work. No, I mean, Plant vs. Zombies is a good one to play because it's animated violence. It's Plants vs. Zombies, and they're very cartoonish, but it's still played like a first-person deathmatch shooter, right? So it was, and I just feel like there's not really a lot of that right now. So I don't know what it's like to work at a game store at the moment, but I'm sure when parents ask, what kind of game should I get my kid? I don't think Plants vs. Zombies is the recommended game now these days. So, and who owns it? I think EA owns Plants vs. Zombies. Well, there we go.
That explains so much.
It explains a lot. All right. Tell the wonderful audience what the glory of Monster Rancher is. And Monster Rancher.
Oh, boy. You think I sacrificed so much time to Dynasty Warriors? Man.
What you know about Monster Rancher?
Monster Rancher was a whole time, because it was like the gameplay was so unique, even for monster breeders, because this came out in the era of Pokemon and Digimon and different other monster collecting games like
All things Mon.
I mean, there was a healthy market for monster breeding games when Monster Rancher 2 came out, let alone the first one. But being able to actually take your CD collection and generate different monsters and unlocking more types to generate based on what rank you hit as you moved through the tournament circuit in the story, Like you would literally spend more time just digging through your disc collection to see what monsters you can get.
That's true, and I think that's like the novelty of this game, right? It's like it's taking things you already own, hopefully you already own, right? And then seeing like it's almost like a gotcha game.
Oh, and one thing that Monster Rancher 2 did was also allowed you to use your memory card data. And if you had certain games on it, you could use that to generate monsters as well.
That's super cool. That's pretty cool, actually. And I'm surprised hasn't been leveraged in modern games, right?
It has been re-released. Monster Rancher 1 and 2. Let's see, Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX on the Switch and Steam.
So how does it generate a monster since you can't put CDs in it?
Instead of CDs, there's actually, random character passwords. So they took the system from Monster Rancher Advanced and used that for monster generation for
That's cool.
DX.
That's cool. I always wondered what the algorithm was for, like, if I put in my Blink 182 CD, what do I get? A chicken?
There were certain games that actually had like special monsters. If I remember correctly, one of the discs from Metal Gear Solid actually had a special monster.
Was it a snake?
It may have been.
Because if not, boo.
As long as
If
it's
not,
solid.
missed opportunity.
Yeah, right. Missed opportunity. So that's super cool, man. No, I love that. And I hope it comes back. And like I said, we need more competition. Getting a new Digimon game. So hopefully down the road, new Monster Rancher game as well.
Well, I mean, consider this: with Monster Rancher 3, 4, and Evo, those were on the PS2, which meant not only can you use your PS1 games and your CDs, but you also got movie DVDs and, of course, other PS2 games that you can use. Literally,
Blu-rays.
Literally, if by some twisted miracle a Monster Rancher game is actually developed for like the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles,
that'd be wild.
the sheer amount of stuff that you can
Also,
use.
I think it wouldn't like get to that just because they would want to monetize everything.
Oh, of course,
right? So it would have to be like some sort of like oh, you need enough breeding credits or something like that, which sounds scary to have breeding credits. So, all right, moving on from that nightmare scenario. My personal choice of game on the 26th of February was Tenchu Stealth Assassins on the PlayStation in 1998.
Oddly enough, a disc that had a special monster in Monster Rancher.
There you go. Owners had to do Activision. So fun, quick story with Tenchu. I had a choice in 1998. James was 16, 17 at the time, right? I think 16, right? At the time. And my parents were like, you can only get one game, right? You can get Tenchu Stealth Assassins or NFL Blitz. I remember this story just because I was there at the store and they had both. I had both in my hand.
Just imagine the branching storyline we could have had if you chose the other way.
It's true. It's true. Which I did because I chose NFL Blitz. And my reasoning for it at the time was it was multiplayer, and I always had friends over at the house after school playing games, and then we wanted another game to play while we were all hanging out after school. So
that's fair.
Yeah, and I just waited for this to buy it on my birthday or something like that. So, but really good game, stealth action. Arguably, this is where Sekiro started, right? Because everybody thinks Sekiro is a Souls game. It's actually a Tenchu game in disguise. So check that out. Get more video on that. That'd be sweet.
For what?
Tenchu?
Oh no, I'll pull up Tenchu. This was something else that's in that I was hoping to talk about.
Yes,
we'll talk about that too. I know.
I recognize that screen anywhere.
Yeah. It's the trench coat that gave it away. Other games that came out this day was The Record of Lodoss War in Dreamcast in 2001, Xenosaga Episode 1, Der Zurmacht in PS2 in 2003. I looked that up. That's Will to Power. Onimusha 3 Demon Siege, as you see on the screen there, on the PS2 in 2004 in Japan. Turning Point Fall of Liberty in 2008. Halo Wars on the 360 in 2009 in Japan. KOF 2002 Unlimited Match on the PS2 2009 in Japan. Yakuza 3 on the PS3 in 2009 in Japan. Japan is just slinging out games today. Dynasty Warriors 7 Empires on the PS3 in 2013. Stardew Valley on the PC in 2016. Also, the Nintendo 3DS released in 2017. And One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows, more like a game nobody played on the Xbox One in 2020 in Japan.
Rough.
Bravely Default 2 on the Switch in 2021. I can say that because I streamed that game. All right. One of the two people that did it. It's me. I looked on Twitch. I was only
that guy.
I was the other one.
The other guy was playing on Xbox. I was playing on PS4.
You truly were a hero nobody knew.
Yeah. A game that nobody played. But yeah, 10-2, that, I mean, this was like during the era of like Metal Gear. Stealth was like in, right? Super. And I think Activision wanted a slice of the pie. That's all I can think about, right? Super fun game. With super fun game with the magical like grappling hook. You hooked on anything.
Not just that, but look at that excellent draw distance of like 5 feet.
Oh, dude, it's like you're just in complete darkness, even in daylight, from what I remember. So, but yeah, that was that's my choice of game for that. Minus the 3DS. I'd like to chat about that here in a minute, but yeah, let's. I think you had Demon Siege up there. All right, Ace, lay it on since Onimusha is getting a sequel.
Hell yeah. Okay, arguably the most beloved and just best in the series. Remember how I was talking about how Dynasty Warriors was the most polished iteration of that series? Same here for Onimusha 3. You've got the dual protagonist set up with Samanosuke coming back, and also, with Shock, played by Leon the freaking professional.
John Renault.
And just like the back and forth between, modern day or, 2005 Paris, France, and, the 1680s back in Japan, just that switch up between the time periods, and also how both characters were displaced into the opposite time periods was a really unique, and just a fun concept to play with in the game. And the game itself was just expertly crafted. Also expertly crafted with the opening cinematic for the game being directed by Donnie Yen.
Yeah, dude, this game was loaded with like action at the time.
Oh yeah,
so it's super cool.
And with 1 and 2 already having remasters, the remaster for 2 being coming up later this year. Yeah, fingers are crossed, and people are already hollering, "Look, when's Demon Siege?" Even Jean Renault, commented on it. He said, if a remaster is done or a remake is done of Onimusha 3, he would be happy to come back as Shock.
I am in. I'll do it.
I would love to play that. That'd be so cool.
And yeah, Shinonami, I hope they do not bring back Blade Warriors Onimusha. If you guys don't know what that is, that was the Smash Brothers version of Onimusha.
I remember that.
It was rough. I have it here somewhere. I have a copy of it here somewhere. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Bonus slide for that. But first, Turning Point: Fall of Liberty. What you got, Nick?
That was a game that I remember checking out just kind of randomly. It showed up at the store, and I'm like, "What the hell is this?" Keep in mind, this is well before Wolfenstein got rebooted and came back out with the New Order. So the whole like alternative history kind of thing like really kind of stuck out to me. So I really wanted to try it because it's the same idea. Like, what if the Nazis won by invading the U.S. during World War II? What if things didn't come to be and America decided to stay isolationist? So you took over. I remember very clearly. It was like this guy who was just like a steel worker, like sending some hot bolts into some metal, and all of a sudden, this giant Zeppelin shows up. What the hell is this? And you have to like fight your way out, like the everyman kind of thing. I just remember this very specifically because I wanted to try it for the story because I wanted to figure out what this was. It was like a cool idea, like again, alternative history. But then you get it and you boot it up, and it is rough. It is very, very rough. It was a very rough game, even at the time. Like the animation was really stilted. I remember that sticks out in my head. Like the way you move around is like so slow. It was one of those things that it felt like a lot of potential that eventually A New Order nailed so much better. But yeah, it was just one of those games that came out. I remember it kind of got not like wrecked by the gaming media at the time or like reviews. They weren't that good. It really was not a good game, but I just remember it sticking out because it was one of the ones I checked out from work, because back then we could check out games when they were new and give them a shot. And I just remember just being so disappointed with it. It crashed a bunch too, and that was when you were playing it on your console. And it's just like, what is this? What is this game? So I saw that was on the release schedule. And I'm like, okay, we got to talk about it.
Yeah, I think like I had the similar experience with that in my case, but I chose Homefront instead. It's the one that North Korea invaded America. So it's kind of funny that you chose Turning Point. I chose Homefront. So hey, but mine got a sequel. That's all I'm saying.
It's like me. It's like what? It's like you chose. It's like you chose Turning Point. You chose Homefront. I chose Shadow Hearts.
Well, you could have chose. Was that the one from EA, the good one, Freedom Fighters? That was a good one. I don't remember the story though, but it was the same concept. You're fighting against invading. I think it was probably Russia or something, an invading force. You're playing like underground, Freedom Fighters, of course.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah, solid game. Surprisingly, EA brings out some bangers sometimes, but nobody cares about them, and that's unfortunate, right?
Oh, I forgot about that. Whenever you grapple something, it goes into third person. There was just so many like weird decisions, and it was definitely of the era. Like this was 2008. There were still a lot of games being pumped out right about this time that kind of felt like that. Like AA, AAA divide was a little bit bigger, as things were kind of going more bombastic, more like cinematic, and then you had studios that didn't quite have that budget or skill set.
Yeah, they're probably trying to decide which direction they wanted to take it.
Studios that didn't have the budget or skill set, kind of like Grin with Bionic Commando.
Oh man, yeah, the twist. That was rough.
A burn. That was a burn. All right, Ace, you got KOF 202 an unlimited match. What you got?
Yep, 02 unlimited match. When it released in Japan, I imported it for my PS2.
Nice.
Have not regretted it. I don't care if I couldn't read Japanese. It was such a great retooling of an already massive and massively played title in the series. I mean, just pulling up some of it, like what Unlimited Match did for KOF 2002, though, which really took me by surprise, was, as is the case with most KOF games, part of what makes the experience is the soundtrack. And the newly added and composed music for King of Fighters 2002 Unlimited Match was like different. It was a mixture of both, new tracks and retreads of older classic themes, and it all just worked so smoothly. And just again, the game itself was already polished. Additional characters being brought back. I mean, like if I remember, the roster for the original KOF 2002 was, 16 teams of 3, so about 48 characters.
That's it.
But Unlimited Match, like, not only just bumped that up with like the secret variants of characters that you can unlock from the arcade, but also again bringing back pretty much every single boss. You had both original and Clone Zero. You had Chrysalid, you had Ignis, you had Nightmare Geese. The roster. Like,
that sounds rough.
Fighting against them was rough.
Wait, it was Ignis in this one too?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and depending on how you actually performed in the arcade mode, like depending on like how many matches you finished with like perfects or with supers, that would actually determine whom you would be facing as mid bosses and your eventual end boss.
That's cool. I like that. Was Regal in this one too or no?
Yep.
Okay, so everybody was here. They're all here. Everyone's here. Smash
Everyone was
Bros.
here, much to our dismay.
Yeah, Smash Bros. So remind us real quick: was this version of KOF rounds, or was this one tagged combat as also?
No, this was rounds.
Okay, because
No, this was an
they
active
keep
tag
switching
like
them all the time. That's why. So sometimes you just have to play it to figure out if it's rounds or like a tag. All right, cool.
Yeah, the games that had active tag, if I remember right, were just KOF 2003 and KOF 11.
KOF 13 global match just released. Awesome. Speaking of releases, oh, there we go. This guy came out on the same day, and 26 as well. Little fun little piece there. I don't know if you guys see that, but it dropped at 250, right? And then within like what less than a half a year, it drops to 169 because it's poorly received by the market. Pretty good value, and I think that's smart. They didn't go like, let's just tough it out with 249. They said nobody's buying this thing. Let's lower the price. I think that was smart in Nintendo, and this thing became to be one of the hypest like handheld consoles out there. People were bringing it everywhere, you know, with the Mii's and everything, and the like. What is that? The Street Pass.
My god, I miss stuff like the Street Pass because
if I remember right, like on that note, Ace, the biggest problem with the 3DS was its marketing. It's kind of similar to the Wii U. Like it really wasn't sold well enough, and the mass market didn't like react well to it because they're like, "Why do I need this? I have a DS." You know, and it didn't have a lot of games at launch. Like James brought up a good point. When it first released, there wasn't like a big slate of games. And at the time, people didn't realize you could play your DS games on your 3DS, or at least, you know, people who weren't like regular gamers, like looking to get into it. Because we had a lot of like families and parents come in asking about this thing, and like, I already have a DS, or I'll just get a DS Lite, it's cheaper, kind of thing. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit at the launch there. But like you said, big turnaround. They did a lot since then. And Ace, to your point, if you want to talk about Street Pass again, like, yeah,
just the fact that Street Pass was such a huge, like, it was a conversation piece. It was something that started to bring back a lot of the, you know, in-person social elements of gaming that you know, we're sorely missing from the arcades. Speaking of which, the Badge Arcade was amazing. Like, that was so much fun.
I just remember. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I'd say real quick. I just remember bringing people would always bring their DS or 3DS to like cons, and it was rack up on Street Passes, right? That was the fun part about that too. One of the many reasons to bring your your mobile console around with you.
Yeah, just carry your 3DS with you. Help you go to an airport. Go to an airport and see, how many different countries you could get Street Passes from. Yeah, and there are some folks there who were lucky enough to actually be in proximity when Satoru Iwata would show up to Nintendo headquarters, specifically Nintendo of America out here in Seattle, out here in Redmond, and they would actually get Iwata-san's Street Pass.
That's super cool. I didn't think about that, but that's super cool.
Flashy in the comments, did they shut off the Street Pass and 3DS shop? The 3DS shop closed, I want to say 2023, like 2 years ago.
Yeah. The 3DS shop closed while I was still working there.
Speaking of Sag from this era, one thing I do miss about the 3DS is when the Nintendo reps would show up to our store with the Pokemon like shinies giveaway. You just toss that card in there, and people would just come in with their 3DSs in their pockets just to do that scan, that Street Pass scan. Man, I remember that. That was a big deal.
Yeah. Honestly, like, this is such a clever way to get people back into the store. If like publishers or video game companies would incentivize people going into a game store, right? Go download the shiny Pokemon. Go collect this badge. Go collect this collectible. If only available at this store, right?
Right.
I think that's so clever. Bring that back.
It was super clever. Yeah, and actually that was probably, like, thinking back on it, that was probably one of the things that got me into the industry, especially like the event side of the industry or being a rep for the industry, was those kind of things, like being able to go to shops just meet people, do these little shiny giveaways, talk about the product kind of thing. It was always fun. Like everyone that worked for the company that came in, they weren't just like, oh, here's this thing, toss it in. Like they were there and they were engaged. Like it was so much fun. They made it fun to do that. And I know that's with partnerships and stuff. It's not always going to be the case. And with the way that everything is distributed digitally nowadays, it doesn't make as much sense. But doing little things like that for the community, especially, pays dividends in the long run. At least I felt. So, but on that note, before, because I know we got not a short amount of time, but with the 3DS in mind, what was your favorite color?
On the regular 3DS, or every 3DS,
or every 3DS, if you had a favorite color, just in honor of that, what was your favorite color 3DS release? The
mine
OG,
was
not the XLs or
the OG was the Fire Emblem one. It's easy.
For me, I'm a simple guy. Cosmic Red.
Cosmic Red, nice. All right, Kami. Now we know, comrade. Pull out your hammer and sickle back there too. Now mine was a Fire Emblem one, just because the Awakening game was such fire, and I was like, I got to get everything Fire Emblem time, right?
Yeah.
But the XL, the Super Nintendo one is the coolest one.
Yes. Without question.
Out loud, the Super Nintendo one is the coolest one of the 3DS. And I think they made a Nintendo version, like the controller, but the Super Nintendo one, I repeat, is the coolest one. And I think this is why they should have called it the Super Switch and made it look like a Super Nintendo Switch. Super cool.
Or again, with the 3DS, is just instead of calling it the 3DS XL, Super Nintendo 3DS. It sells itself.
They can't do that though, because that sounds like a different kind of product they come out with.
Yeah, people are already confused about what this thing does.
Yeah. It's like they're bringing back the Super Nintendo? What?
Oh man, does it have Super Nintendo games?
Yeah, now that you mentioned that too, I do remember that the NES version was just like the controller on the top, which was super basic, but the Super was like the console, like top buttons, right? On the I thought it was,
like the power and reset on the top. Yep.
Stupid good.
Oh man, so good. Speaking of good games, a little title here called Command and Conquer Renegade in 227 in 2002. A lot of twos that day. I'm gonna call on you, Nick. I think you played this game. Did you play this game?
Renegade, I did. Yes.
Okay.
Because again, anything with Westwood on it at the time,
that's what I figured. That's why I put it up here for you.
And even if I never had any idea about the game, the fact that it said Command and Conquer and it said Westwood, I bought it. Little did I know, Renegade was not the typical game because it was not an RTS game, and I got taken for a loop that time.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was a cool idea that they were like zooming in on a GDI soldier to show you like the world of Command and Conquer. I thought that was kind of cool. Right. The execution was a little rough, but the idea was kind of cool. That's all I gotta say about that one. So, all right. Do you have any video for this guy or no?
Oh yeah, let me pull something up for you, bud. Keep going though.
And from what I remember, it was like a sabotage game, right? You would go in and just blow stuff up at a base and escape while you can and stuff like that. But yeah, other games that came out that day: Final Fantasy 1 and 2 on Nintendo in 1994. Let me pull that up here real quick. Oh boy. Dynasty Warriors 4 on the PS2 in 2003 in Japan. Star Ocean, another Star Ocean game till the end of time in PS2 in 2003 in Japan. Super Princess Peach on the DS in 2006. We'll get to that, don't worry. Bullet Witch on the 360 in 2007. Who can forget about We Have Bayonetta at Home. Killzone 2 on the PS3 in 2009. And The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages and Seasons on the Game Boy Color in 2013 in Japan. All right, what's up?
I have a story in regards to Star Ocean till the end of time.
Okay.
Oh boy. All right, so of course, young Ace in college, got my financial aid check. Star Ocean came out, so yeah, I'm grabbing that bad boy and the strategy guide, which I still have sitting over here on my shelf. But I sit down, I'm spending the weekend at my friend Rob's place, and I'm playing Star Ocean. They're watching me play through it. We're having a blast, and there's this part near the beginning of the game where you're going through the mines, where you're going through some mines in the kingdom that you're in. And for some strange reason, I just found every single segment of that section of the game right there.
Triggered.
I
I
aim to
found it.
please, bud. Trauma.
I found it absolutely hilarious. Like, I don't know
Stress
what it
levels
was.
rising.
Just rolling around in that cart with them big turtle-looking things on those tracks was just downright hilarious to me.
Brought you joy.
I came to find out why. Because, like a few months later after I had already beaten the game, I was going back through it for a second playthrough, making different decisions for different characters. And this section of the game wasn't so funny to me. And Rob looks over at me and he says, "You do know that my roommate at the time was a massive pothead, right?" They were smoking something so strong, it permeated the house. You, my friend, had a contact high while going through those mines. And I'm sitting there like...
But turtles, though.
My stress
though, he's
meter
like-
is so high right now.
He's like, "No, Nelson, you were gone."
My turtles.
And I know
The
this
turtles,
is such
dude.
a
The
terrible,
turtles.
like,
You're
advertisement
high,
for this
kid.
game.
How's your stress levels doing?
I better speed up to 25 kilometers an hour.
Did you have anything for DW40s?
Yeah, a
the
little
fact
bit.
that there was one.
Well,
Because
a
keep
little
in mind, there's another Dynasty Warriors game to talk about.
Right. But yeah, largely just, again, DW4 was a bit of a departure even from 3 in that they were, experimenting with character progression and, how you got your weapons and how you actually leveled up your characters as you went through. Again, it was great as far as the storytelling, how it went from focusing on individual characters to now the different kingdoms. So you would play through the story mode as as each faction kind of going through their what was their historical route, and with each chapter you would decide which character you would play for that chapter.
Oh, all right. Yeah, and then I don't remember a lot of it, but I do remember it being like way more advanced, and because 3 was kind of like more of 2, right,
Mhm.
with more characters, but 4 is when it really started to become a little bit different of a game, right?
Yeah.
From what I remember. So
And
it's been a
4
long time ago.
and 4 also introduced Joe Tai.
Yes, Samurai Man. That was 22 years ago, chat. Wow. All right. Before I die of old age, let's go to the next one here. 228, where it all began. Grand Theft Auto was released on the PC in 1998. And please tell me a video of this, because it's nothing like the Grand Theft Auto we play now, because this game was super fun for what it was. As you go find that, I'll tell you some of the other games that came out this day. 228, Contra 3 The Alien Wars, my choice of game on the Super Nintendo in 1992 in Japan. Star Wars Dark Forces on the PC in 1995. Blast Corps on the N64 in 1997. Mega Man 8 on the PlayStation and Saturn in 1997. Black came out on the PS2 and Xbox in 2006. We talked about that last stream. SSX, the remake on the PS3 and 360, not the original one, in 2012. Dynasty Warriors 8, 4 games later on the PS3 in 2013 in Japan. Horizon Zero Dawn on the PS4 on 2017. Ion Fury on the PC in 2018 as well. We got a lot of games that day. All right, who wants to go first? I see Star Wars Dark Forces.
I've got GTA up for you on the other screen.
Let's go,
Dark
GTA!
Forces, yeah, Dark Forces was one of my favorite games growing up. That was, definitely like that build engine kind of like feel, that first person shooter but in the Star Wars universe kind of thing. I love all those games, and Kyle Katarn. I got really into the Jedi Outcast and Jedi Academy games later on. because of how much I loved Dark Forces as a kid. I didn't have a
That's-
lot of games outside the norm. I didn't get to a lot of like, hey, I really want this game on my computer and having my parents buy it. It was like what my dad happened to have, or the couple I'd get from my friends, or I'd go over to their house. Like Dark Forces was one of the first ones I got when I asked for it because I like Star Wars so much.
Yeah.
So I loved it. I loved it. So that's why I highlighted it, just because it was something that's from my past that I just remember. Same with this though, with GTA. Like seeing this takes me back.
Yep. And I mean, playing this at the time, I would have never guessed this would have been one of the biggest games to be released in modern day, like
Right.
years later, right? Because when I saw this, I just thought of Micro Machines, honestly, Matchbox racers, and your guy doing like little shoots and drive-bys and little pickups and drops. That's all it was, really. You know, not a lot of violence, not a lot of extra stuff. It was just a little fun big city simulator driving your little Matchbox car everywhere.
You know, it was Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
That's
literally
what it focused on.
was more Grand Theft Auto. And Nick, I wanted to say that to me, Star Wars Dark Forces was pretty much perceived to little James as, man, what if Star Wars had a Doom game? And we got Dark Forces at the time, because first-person shooters were like the thing, right? So I thought that would have been really cool for them to have as well.
I put a link in the private chat if you want to share it with chat. But if
Sure.
you're ever interested in learning a little bit more about like the history of Grand Theft Auto and where it came from, Danny O'Dwyer over at NoClip did a history of GTA Lemmings and DMA Design. They were the team behind the original Grand Theft Auto. Really cool documentary. It's about an hour long, so you can put it on the background if you're ever looking to like put something on the background and like learn a little bit about gaming history. Great documentary, just talking about where the company came from, where the ideas came from, and kind of the difficulties they had getting this game made. So definitely check it out. It's good. It's always fantastic stuff to like see some of this older stuff come to life and the stories and the people behind it.
All right, sweet. And then, all right, DW8. I thought, no, 7 was the one I really played a lot. So what's up with DW8? Oh, Extreme Legends. Yeah, this one's great.
Okay, hold on. Let me get down here.
Oh, you don't remember? What's wrong with you, bro?
No, but Dynasty Warriors 8, that one, well, again, kind of taking it back to what I said about 5. Dynasty Warriors 8 was the most polished and the most technically sound of the PS3 and Xbox 360 era games. So much so that game has been re-released on the PS4, on Steam, and I think they actually re-released the complete edition on Switch as well. But again, it was just so it was so complete. It was so polished. It was, again, it was optimized very well, and all of the new characters that were added over the course of the PS3 titles like really came into their own. And once again, it went back to focusing on the characters, that focusing on telling the story through individual characters. They actually kind of took the same trajectory on the PS3 as they did on the PS2. So Dynasty Warriors 6 was like, their first foray on a new platform, much like 2. And then Dynasty Warriors 7 was, the more refined one that, started bringing in, more elements from what they had learned over the previous games.
That was my choice. I like that one.
And then Dynasty Warriors 8 was just like the culmination of everything. Still adding new characters, the stage and scenario presentation, some of the different tactical actions you could take on the battlefield. And of course, when Dynasty Warriors 8 first dropped in Japan, full well, I double dipped. I imported it for the PS3, and then like 6 or 7 months later when it came out in the States, I still got it.
Matter of fact, chat, we have a video about this, which I'll try to find for you right now.
That we do. Oh, like that's not just gaming history, but that's that's Ace and GQ deep lore for y'all.
Yeah, it's when our two channels crossed up like a mix, like a 50-50 mix up in Street Fighter.
Yep. No, we were the 2-in-1 like Thing and Spider-Man, man.
All right, let's see here. Okay, I'll keep looking for this, but is that Ion Fury? So this one was like the way this game was like displayed to me was you were playing as female Duke Nukem.
That's
right?
a good way of saying it for
Yeah.
a couple reasons. So the reason I have this highlighted is because I love this game, but I also love this era of games.
Yeah.
I got really into like Duke Nukem 3D back in the day. We'd had this discussion before when we were talking about Duke in like the last few weeks, but this was 3D Realm. So the people behind, like Duke and Blood and all those like classic games and the build engine games that I mentioned earlier, like Duke 3D, you recognize the look of it. Like, don't tell me like you don't feel like some nostalgia like looking at this gameplay for it.
Oh no, I was about to say checking out some of the gameplay for it a while back and just looking at like some of the screenshots from it when it first released. I was like, man,
this is 2018. This is when this game released, right? Like it's such a fun throwback to an older style. Like I love this game so much. I slept on it to start, so I will admit that I saw it when it came out. I put it in my wish list and then just forgot about it because I couldn't afford to get it at the time, and it slides back in the wish list kind of thing. But it's bringing the build engine to the future. They teamed up with Void Point for this. It's got the quips, it's got the gameplay, it's got the sense of humor, just that throwback style. If you're looking for like that older feel, like this is perfect for it. And they came out with some DLC for it as well, and it was really well received. It's a very solid game. It's a lot of fun. But like this pistol here, you see it works really well. It also has an alt fire. Like there's secrets to find, and I will guarantee you will miss secrets so easily. Some of them are so weird. Like I had to look up videos multiple times to find some of the secrets, and some of them like get you weapons early kind of thing too, so it can kind of break it. Like there's a crossbow in this game that if you know how to get the secret for it, the spot where it's at, like it kind of breaks it a little early on, and then it's like really required to get further in the game too, so you like take on bosses and stuff. But yeah, no, it was such a fun game, really really cool, and I highly recommend if you're like trying to scratch that itch of an older game but kind of like updated. This is definitely the one for you.
Yeah. The game that pops in my head for a game like this right now is Bolt Gun. It's for me. So.
For me, it's Rise of the Triad.
Yeah.
And I know we were talking about that as well. If you liked that and you haven't played this, like you absolutely need to play this one, because they also did you play the Rot update as well, the re-release or whatever? Nice.
All right, chat. I linked me old video with that Asian kid in my old channel called Too Asian for You, tofu with an A. But check that out when you get a chance. That video has been like in the shadows of my channel because it's incredibly copyrighted, but it's funny. So watch it when you guys can. It's super cool.
Dive deep on his channel, you'll find the gold.
Cool. Also, last year, 2024, on this day, EA lays off 5% of its workforce, closing Ridgeline Games, canceling their single-player Battlefield game and a Star Wars FPS game by Respawn Entertainment, which is one of my favorite devs. Jeez, didn't they do Titanfall?
Yeah.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah. There was a whole bunch of things. That's the reason I really wanted to call that out as part of this day in gaming history, is because hearing that news was so sad. We only got like a little bit of like teaser about it, and we were so ready for it. It looked like it was going to be such a cool project and such a cool idea, but yep, lost.
Yeah, that makes me sad. Also, if EA wants to honestly get back on the map, dude, do something with Titanfall. Like, I don't know if they own Titanfall anymore, but
they do, but it's Apex now. It's just Apex.
Oh my God. World of Titanfall. Man. All right, anyway, before I lose more hair here, let's go on there. Let's go on our last day. All right, March 1st, last day of this week in gaming history. Zone of the Enders
finding the Animu like cover arts this week.
The PS2 in 2001. Well, I chose this one particularly because the whole point of this game, even though it was a Hideo Kojima game, right, was to sell copies of Metal Gear Solid, because the demo of Metal Gear Solid was included in this one. Metal Gear Solid 2, was included in this, and this game is very short. Short, sweet, straight to the point, very sci-fi. You like mecha, great. But people didn't buy this for Zone of the Enders. They bought this for that demo. And going back to it, I'm like, that's super freaking clever. Imagine if you had to buy a subpar Konami game right now to get a demo of Metal Gear Solid, or Metal Gear Snake Eater, the remake. you're gonna do it.
or if they decide to put PT on a disc at any point.
Oh my gosh, like New Silent Hill, like, and PT is a sample. Oh my gosh,
Right.
yeah. I'm just
Buy this
selling
game,
it.
get PT. You can't get it any other way.
Yeah, man, I remember like people were selling their PS3s or PS3 or PS4s, PS3s with that thing downloaded into it, right? And they were like, "Oh, it's $1,000 because that's PT in it." Okay.
And people were snatching them up.
Yeah. I have PT, but just thinking about that price tag, PT. All right, other games that came out that day: Yoshi's Story on the N64 in 1998. Zone of the Enders, of course, came out. Just in case you forgot, Brothers in Arms, Road to Hill 30. I got confused there for a second. Xbox 2005 and 2005. Super Commander 2 on the PC. You got to tell me what that game is. In 2010, Rift on the PC in 2011. One Piece Pirate Warriors on the PS3 in 2012 in Japan.
Another Muso.
Oh, no surprise. Persona 4 Arena, my choice for this one in the arcade in 2012 in Japan. And Dead or Alive 6 came out on pretty much every console in 2019. And also Ghostwire Tokyo came out on the PS4? It should be PS5, right? In 2022. I feel like that's PS5. Okay, all right, never mind. Anyway, Zone of the Enders, like I said, going back to that, was designed to kind of sell copies of Metal Gear, and we could probably do research on that. But I was one of the suckers that did it. But I wanted to play the game anyway because it looked cool. It's right up my alley, right? But my choice of a game for this week was, for this day, was Persona 4 Arena because it was one of those things where they're like, what if it was a fighting game? And they did it. I always have respect for that.
Pretty
You know,
much.
like they take something that's not very like fighting game-ish and they make a fighting game out of it. I think that's super cool. Reminded me of like Battle Fantasia. You guys remember that fighting game?
Yeah.
Right? So, and also one could argue Grand Blue Fantasy. They made a fighting game out of it, right? Because it was a mobile game. Right? So I think that's like, it takes a little bit of creativity working with like a specific IP to create into a viable fighting game. So super cool. All right. Anything else for this day aside from Pirate Warriors? Ace?
Well, I mean, aside from Pirate Warriors, Zone of the Enders would have been my choice for this day too, and for the exact same reason. While I was like when I picked up Zone of the Enders, I was actually more interested in the Zone of the Enders because Metal Gear Solid 2 was kind of like off in the background for me.
Yeah.
I played the original Metal Gear Solid, loved it. Saw the demo for 2, and I'm like, okay, that's rad. I am really glad we were getting the demo for that with this other Konami game that I had no clue about until I, went into software, etc.
Yeah, I remember
GameStop.
that. I remember that place.
I went into software, etc., pulled it off the shelf, flipped through the instruction manual, and I was like, man, this game looks kind of rad. And then the cat behind the counter tells me that it comes with a demo for Metal Gear Solid 2, and I snatched it off the spot.
And here's the thing. I think I don't want this to be a common practice, but I do have to admire that it's very clever to put eyeballs on a game that nobody would think about, right? But by associating it with a game that everybody wants to play. So let's just say, for example, maybe Konami's releasing a very smaller IP that nobody will know about, but then they said, it comes with a voucher for the Metal Gear Delta demo if you buy this game, right? I think that's pretty smart, in my opinion. Is it consumer friendly? Probably not, right? But we're not entitled to demos. But at the same time, like they also want to put more eyeballs on a new IP, maybe that we wouldn't give a shot.
Kind of like how SquareSoft did with Brave Fencer Musashi.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that 100%. Now here's the thing:
came with that Final Fantasy VIII demo.
This was really the time before the internet was popular, so I don't blame them for doing it that way. But now I feel like with that, and they don't have to print discs, right? Demos are something that you should just have to get more eyeballs on and more people playing your games, right? So that's kind of my thing with that. But yeah, that is this week in gaming history, folks. Thank you.
I love it.
I will never get tired of that.
I love that dude. All right, man. We got some some news tonight.
Here we go.
Lots to chat about here. All right, Nicholas, what you got for us? Make me sad, make me mad. Let's go.
I'll make you sad and make you mad. Like I said at the very top of just like that drops in on you, it is a scary kind of day because the last 24 hours have been insane. So thank you so much for dedicating some time to talk with us about what's been happening in the gaming industry. This week, I just kind of want to start with a couple quick bites, as usual, the quick stuff. Not want to jump into too much discussion, but you in the chat rooms, if something sparks your interest, let us know because we love hearing from you. Phoenix Labs, I'm sure you guys have heard of them, announced that Dauntless will be shutting down on May 29th and will receive no further updates or content before then. If you're not familiar with it, it was the free-to-play Monster Hunter inspired online game. You two, I know, are big Monster Hunter fans. Did you play Dauntless at all?
Yep,
Yes.
I did.
What do you think?
Especially during its first couple years.
What do you think about the news? Is that sad news? Is it too soon, or do you think they've kind of run its course?
Honestly, after seeing how the game had been changed up after Phoenix Labs had gotten bought out, and I mean, I recently re-downloaded Dauntless just to see how much it had changed up since the last time I played it, and some of the changes to the mechanics and to the character progression in the game, it kind of hurt.
Yep, fair enough. Well, it's that day. After 6 years, it's going away. I have some news about Fable. We all remember that game. It has been delayed from 2025, friends. It is now not coming out until 2026. Super sad about that, but Craig Duncan, during a Xbox Game Studios update, did share a little bit of pre-alpha in-game footage. So that is out there, and you can look it up on their official podcast. The link is on the sheet there, James, if you wanted to share with people. I think it's at the 14-minute mark he's talking about it, so you can get a little bit more information from him. But we have heard it is delayed. Could be good, could be bad. I really want the game to come out. So that would be fantastic. But at the same time, if it's going to bake a little bit more, it's got to be better for it, we hope. So hopefully our patience will be paid off. You guys remember Wizards of the Coast? They reportedly have canceled a AAA game that was being developed by Skeleton Key, their AAA studio that they formed in 2022. This is actually not the first time the company's canceled unannounced games recently. They also canceled 5 games in 2023. But don't worry, fans of Baldur's Gate, they're still planning D&D games after the success of Baldur's Gate 3, so that one is still moving forward. Unfortunate to hear about some other games that are being canceled that could potentially been pretty good. A Singaporean media ratings agency has leaked Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 before an initial announcement from Activision. So that has a 2025 release. It was a leak. 3 days ago, there was a Tony Hawk website that went live, kind of teasing a new Pro Skater announcement that was official. So this was coming, but now we had from that ratings leak for sure the 3 and 4 HD release is coming out. So good news if you're a fan of that. Kind of a weird way to get it before the company got in front of it, but this does happen from time to time. You two are Tekken 8 fans. They have introduced the first fighter for Season 2's content, Anna Williams, aka the Scarlet Lightning. The community has already a huge list of DLC characters, on a wish list. The community is set up, so you can go online and see what's on there. But what do you two think about Anna being the first announcement?
I think it's a callback to a character. That's like the Ken to Nina's Ryu, right?
Yeah.
But the Echo character.
Yeah, my just small gripe, but I mean, it's the usual, such is the nature of the beast, right? That being, classic characters, classic favorites being held back as paid DLC.
Yep. Well, I mean, people are already talking about Lei Wulong and all the other people that they've missed out on, right?
Yep.
But the thing that I wanted to bring up, sorry, guys, the thing I wanted to bring up about this was Harada actually got into a fight on Twitter about somebody about Anna. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No.
But the guy that tweeted was like, we don't like Anna's design. Right? Bring back Anna's Tekken 7 design. And Harada literally said, "Did you watch the trailer? Because we have a costume for that." And then Harada also said 90% of people are going to be happy when the 10% are going to complain, and people like you, right, are is like you guys always show up. Always have to say your 2 cents without having to think or something along those lines, right? I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he was pretty much like tired of his shit. And by all means, the guy should have just watched the video and shut his mouth. I think he was just trying to get attention or something because it was there.
Oh, yeah.
And he also said a very interesting part where he said, people are going to get mad at me for not releasing Anna. And then people are going to get mad at me for releasing Anna, like Ace, right? And then he's going to say, and then when I do release Anna, people are going to get mad at me for not having her closet costume. And then people are going to get mad at me for having her to look different.
Right.
So he's saying like he can't win, but so he's going to do whatever the hell he wants.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
And again, that's why, I'm not like, piping mad about it. It's just like, man, I'm kind of wishing that Anna could have been, I'm kind of wishing that Anna would have been, dropped with the base roster, but
I'm just seeing Ace right now, like open up his wallet, just be like, I'm gonna pay for this, but I'm not gonna like it.
I'm gonna look at you right in the eyes.
Give me that season 2.
Oh no, I'm still basically waiting until the game goes on sale, like
Ultimate
at
Edition.
Tekken 7.
Oh sure, absolutely.
I mean, I play that shit day one on Tekken.
But I mean, it's just like again, it's the nature of the beast, and there's.
Sure.
I'm not in a position where I can make the decisions, so.
Well, that's the thing about like wish list is like it's a wish list. It's what you wish for. It doesn't mean you're gonna get it. It's just kind of like, hey, it'd be really cool if this character came back. The devs are gonna do what the devs are gonna do. Mm-hmm. So they're gonna take some of that community feedback, but
also one thing that was mentioned was that Bandai Namco was actually, talking about how they want to get community feedback as to how they announce the rest of that season, whether it's still going to be, the rest of the characters one by one, or if it's just going to be, full roster reveal, just boom, here's everybody, here you go.
Yeah.
Real quick on that. I got my quick bite on it. This is a heated topic, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, why the hell does it matter if the only reason why you would trickle down like the release of the announcement for that is to continue the conversation over time, right? To generate more hits, to trend on social media, because it benefits nobody to surprise us anyway. Because regardless, they have it all planned out anyway, right? So if the characters are not what the community wants, it's not going to change anything, right? It's just they'll be more upset now than later. That's all I got to say.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Rip the Band-Aid off. Let people heal up a little bit, and they'll get over it. 33 Immortals. So the next game from the team that made Spiritfarer, which was a game that I tried out and really liked the look of and liked the play of, even though it was something I didn't know I'd like right off the top of my head. Their new game, 33 Immortals as mentioned, announced its early access release of March 18th. So a little extra news for you if you're interested in that. They did play that during one of like the Xbox showcases. That's the one that's like rogue-light elements with 33 other people and an online like experience. It was pretty cool looking, like getting 33 people to run around doing like roguelite stuff. So interesting twist on what that what they're doing. Blacksmith Wukong is still in the news, friends. They have now sold over 25 million copies globally, 5 million on PS5 alone. So kind of an interesting thing, right? Because we did have news already that there is an Xbox port coming later this year, but they've already crossed that number before Xbox has even come into it, as well as a new DLC expansion. So pretty cool stuff for that team.
I think it's very on point, very on message that one of the first best selling Chinese games to come out is based off Journey to the West.
Especially with the announcement that Dragon Ball Daima is going to be ending literally a minute before the anniversary of Toriyama's death.
That's on purpose, that's for sure. Celebrate it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's cool that China's getting in the market, especially the Tides of Annihilation, all these crazy games that they're making, right? But the game that really like struck a chord with like the West is a game based on the myth Journey to the West. It's almost like a message. We're gonna make this good because we're coming for you guys.
Yeah, good games are good games, right? Yeah. And where do they get this inspiration in the stories? It's as long as it's done well, it's going to find an audience. And that game found an audience, a huge audience. Mm-hmm. It's not my kind of game, but I did check it out. I've watched videos. I've heard you guys talk about it. it looks great, sounds great, it's just not my kind of game, and that's just what it is for me. But there's still, as mentioned, a giant market. I'm going to hop into the rumor mill stuff right away, just to get through these. Less this week, just because we had more going on with our bigger story articles.
Sure.
Same as always, take it as a grain of salt. Just some interesting stuff to kind of talk about and think about going on in the gaming industry. And I'm not done talking about Fable. I'm going to talk more about it because one of the rumors that has been going around is on the back of the delay announcement. There's more rumors popping up that the title will also be coming to PlayStation 5 at the same time. So this was sourced to Nate Drake on Reset Era, who does have there's multiple subreddit communities that kind of grade these leakers as far as how good they are, how much the stuff they say comes true. Are they reputable enough, right? And this one is from someone who is pretty reputable. So this could line up with Xbox's patterns lately, kind of releasing on PlayStation 5 as well. This could be probably, or not probably, that's me just throwing it out there, but maybe it's been said this is part of the reason it's being delayed, is to get it ready for PlayStation 5 as well. So the game getting these actual video content release, as mentioned earlier, it's still pre-alpha. It's still very early on in development, and that's one of the reasons that it is being pushed back. It's just not quite ready, as smooth as it does look, but you can only trust that so far. It's a very specific slice of the game. But sounds like this could be something that's coming along too. Maybe we'll see it on day one in PlayStation 5 as well. That would match up with what we were talking about with Xbox. Marvel Rivals, folks, that has a new leak as well. There is evidence being shown right now that Emma Frost is likely on her way to the game. So there's been some stuff kind of talked about before. There was word before that Valkyrie may be added, and earlier this year, a data mine revealed that 5 other characters, including Professor X and Colossus, are going to be coming in. But some voice lines were data mined, and it sounds like Emma Frost is coming to the game. So I know you guys are sitting on that Marvel Rivals train. James, I see you playing every once in a while pop up on Discord. So, hey, more characters.
I can't wait to beat up people with my thoughts as Professor X. My helmet.
Speaking of Rebel Insider, Jeff Grubb stated on Blue Sky that the rumored God of War remaster, rumors that had been talked about before, kind of jumped the gun and may now be announced around the same time as the 20th anniversary exhibition they have planned.
Oh.
So we'll see if that was the case. Obviously, this was rumored before. There was rumors about it coming out for the 2024 Game Awards. There was rumors of it being at the 2025 State of Play that just happened. So still remains to be seen, but it sounds like it is coming in some respect, but we'll see if it comes out when they think it will.
Is it developed by Sony? Do you know? Or,
I do not know.
Okay. Honestly, if they gave all the remakes to Bluepoint, because they did a good job with Demon Souls. That was way better than we anticipated. I think if they focused on, hey, Bluepoint handle these remakes and we'll create new games, IPs and stuff.
Bluepoint also handled the remake for Shadow of the Colossus, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. That's what I'm saying. They have their shit together.
Yeah.
Right? So I would be confident as a CEO to be like, they did a good job with these games. Try it with this one, and we'll keep going, and we'll focus on newer titles, right? So that's just me if I was in charge.
Yep, I can't. No news on who's doing it other than in some way Santa Monica Studio is still attached to it, so I don't know if they're doing it directly themselves or if it's third party, but they're certainly looped in on it. All right, that was a quick bites. Again, rumors, take it as a grain of salt, just some interesting stuff to talk about. The first article, and I know it's getting a little bit late, but this is kind of some of the big news that's been coming out. That is the first link, James, if you want to grab that and throw it in. I put it in the chat as well as that. So, let's talk about AC Shadows. This has had, let's just say, a messy road to launch. So, if you haven't heard the news, Assassin's Creed Shadows has been leaked. Physically, it is out there in the world. So the game is just floating around. So the Assassin's Creed official X profile did send their announcement out. It says, "Hello, everyone. We are aware players have accessed Assassin's Creed Shadows ahead of its official release. The development team is still working on patches to prepare the experience for launch, and any footage shared online does not represent the final quality of the game.
Yeah, it
Leaks
is.
are unfortunate and can diminish the excitement for players. We kindly ask you not to spoil the experience for others. Thank you to our community for already taking steps to protect everyone from the spoilers. Stay in the shadows, avoid the spoilers, and keep an eye on our channel for more official surprises coming in the coming weeks. March 20th will be here soon. Yeah, so it leaked early. We've talked,
L's.
yeah, big L's across the board. So the YouTube post that I put up there, or the link that James shared, is from Luke Stevens. He went over Shadow's physical releases and kind of talks about, like, is this true? Is this something that happened? And he kind of talks about his point that some internal team members didn't find out until the last moment that that February release date was getting kicked out to March. So it sounds like the plan was to already kind of have that game out in February, and then it got pushed back again for whatever reason that the team kind of didn't know was going to be happening. So Luke Stevens used to work at Best Buy and talked about stores would get some of those games before launch date. James and I as well, working at like GameStop and the Castle and Reset and EB Games, like, you will get these games ahead of time for sure, and they are in the back room. Usually the manager will lock them away. They'll have the sticker on the side, like, do not release,
Yeah.
before X date kind of thing.
Street
But
dates.
street dates, exactly. But this is like well in advance, that kind of thing, where you can see it, like, people on the market, like Facebook Marketplace, are like posting these Assassin's
this
Creed
shit
Shadows things.
fell off a truck.
Smart, by the way. I'm sure Ubisoft will never track you down with your name attached to it and your photo as you're holding the games in your hands. Like, literally, that's what was found. So yeah, physical copies of the games are out there, and the game is still like furiously being patched before launch. But as mentioned, this is like a heavy L once again for this game. I don't know about YouTube. Mine is like big blowups with like Concord, maybe Cyberpunk with its releases, like the after release stuff. Has there been a game that's had this many issues with delays, problems with pushback in the community, just marketing snafus one after another in such a short span for a game that's, let's be honest, we were really looking forward to Assassin's Creed like in Japan for since the third game. That was like where we've been talking about.
Yeah, it'd be so cool if it was in Japan. Yeah.
Right. What do you think? Anything else that kind of stands out with that? Any other games, or what do you think is going on with Ubisoft?
First things first, I would say that no one can beat or top the Duke Nukem Forever blunder, right? That it just, luckily that game just like didn't come out, and then it just came out because people were like, just released it anyway, and it was too late. But I feel like that tops it all, right? Because it was like made in a different timeline. Like, yeah. It was developed in like the early 2000s, came out in the late 2010s, something like that.
But I mean, as far as just like, again, just marketing missteps in general, though, yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows is getting up there.
Yeah,
this game, man, it's rough because like the community and I'm kind of like playing the middleman here because I like to just look at both sides, right? I feel like the community goes, "Hey, we have some suggestions," right? And then the developers go, "No, like, we got this," right? And then they double down on it. So it makes, I don't know, like, I'm not a developer, right? But I understand gamers can get pretty finicky for sure and toxic. But like, it's almost the decorum wasn't even there, where they're saying, "Hey, like, we're trying to make it as authentic as possible." Then they don't make it authentic as possible, right? And then they don't talk about it anymore because they know they were wrong, and gamers are calling them out on it, and all these other things, like the stuff that they're finding. And props to these gamers looking at the details for this game and like pointing out certain things. Like they're like, everyone's a historian now all of a sudden in for this game, right? And it just bothers me that they can't just go like, "Well, we'll fix it. We'll change. We'll make it more authentic or whatever." Oh, I at this point, whatever, right? But it's just like, to me, it's the conversation between the two communities is always, they're just butting heads instead of going like, let's meet in the middle somewhere. Yeah.
Ace, what about you?
I mean, again, like, just how on top of it people are as far as like, finding the different details. Because I mean, Assassin's Creed as a series, love it or hate it, the one thing that really made it was just how how many different details are pulled from each of the different time periods that the games take place in that really informs and like enriches the gameplay for the folks that are still at it all after all this time.
Yeah, this
It,
once again, just like the official response, kind of like James was saying to this, like the official response I kind of read out earlier. Leaks are unfortunate and can diminish the excitement for players. Like, what state is this game going to be in on those physical discs, and how much of this day one patch is going to be such a change from like potentially 3 to 4 weeks worth of updates to get it ready for launch? Like, why was it out there? How much work still needs to be done on this game past that? And again, like if it is true, like those internal staff members didn't find out until like moments before that February release, or the lead up to that February release, like all of a sudden now it's March. Like, man, that is a nightmare situation. To me at least, that just sounds like there was so much work that still needed to be done. Something came up that had to be enough of a catastrophic
yeah,
response that it had to push back an extra month. And like, discs are printed. It is what it is. We got to delay because we need a day
correct.
one patch that fixes this massive issue or these massive issues, or there's still so much pushback from certain things. I don't know how much is that's going to affect that whole idea of the two protagonists again, because it seems like lately, especially like you were mentioning, James, the marketing, they're pushing more and more away from Yasuke and like focusing more
Oh yeah,
on just he's
100%.
the one character. It's like, well, why are you
They
changing that now? Like,
they literally made Yasuke an optional character to play now. They said you don't have to play his stages. That's how bad it's gotten, right? And I think that's like, it's so out of touch. It's not like they don't want to play Yasuke, honestly. You have to make it make sense when you play Yasuke. That's all they're asking for. Of course, gamers are bad communicators because they rage so hard all the time, right? And that's the part where I'm like, this is where they need to be in the middle. If you don't like the way Yasuke plays, how should we make Yasuke play? Right? That's like, they should listen to that, right?
Right, and a lot of it on that particular topic, a lot of the discussion I've seen, pretty much goes back to how, in the previous Assassin's Creed games, your player character was, wasn't someone who was in the limelight comparatively.
Man said it right there.
Desmond is not a
He's not real.
central historical figure,
Yeah.
but he still interacts with those historical figures
And
through the assassin.
and this is why people are arguing that he's not real, because if they know Nawe is not real, right? They know that 100%. But Ubisoft kept saying Yasuke is real, but he's one of the playable characters. Historically, Assassin's Creed always had a fictional main character that interacted with real characters in history.
Mhm.
So, how do you think after the legacy of Assassin's Creed games are gamers going to feel about this character? Right? So, especially when it's like, what do you call this? Like shrouded in mystery still. People are still debating about it, right? So maybe that was their goal, to have this, debate online, but it backfired on them, if that's the thing. It's unfortunate because I want it to be good, and I like the fact that there's two different play styles, right? One's stealth, or one's more like straightforward. I think that's a great idea, right?
well, that's one of the things I loved about Syndicate. I did like having the twins and
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
two different gameplay, and I thought that was a little like overblown. How much people push back against that about how they didn't like it. If you go back and play Syndicate, like, it's good. It's still a
Yeah,
good
I
game.
like
It's
those
just
Gangs
you
of
might be
London.
burned out from the
Great.
Assassin's Creed feel again.
Yeah.
But anyway, I appreciate you guys hopping in on that one, because that one was kind of like the big news that released in the last like 24. Just the fact that these physical games are out there, and it's
Right?
just
Man,
the L's keep hitting. Like, ugh.
I'm
But that
scared to
brings
see what they find on this. All I'm saying, because the last video that they made, they couldn't even pet the dog in the video. That they were streaming the game live, and they were like, "Let's pet the dog." They're like, "Oh, guess not ready yet." And I'm like, "Oof."
Yeah,
Okay.
well, maybe that will be in the day one patch. That'll be one of the things listed
The
at the
dog.
bottom of the patch notes. So on a sadder note, like even sadder than that, let's call out a rest in peace to Monolith Productions. So according to Jason Schreier with Bloomberg, WB Games is closing Monolith Productions as well as Player First Games and WB San Diego. So that's 3 of their things. So I put the link. Oh, actually, I didn't. Yeah, because I hit copy but not paste.
I got it.
But thank you, sir. Yes. So the biggest news beyond Monolith going is the game that they were working on too, which was the Wonder Woman game. So DC can't catch a break lately with their game releases. So the Wonder Woman game especially has been in a bit of a development hell. That's been reported on for a while now. Schreier had actually already reported earlier in February how this title had already gone over $100 million in development and was trying to shift back to an Arkham style game. So it had already spent a
Oh,
bunch of money going
shame.
in one direction, and now it was trying to shift again recently after spending 100 million. So the biggest issue was that they were trying to, according to reports, they were trying to shoehorn in the Nemesis system into the game, where you play as Wonder Woman and you're trying to utilize the Nemesis system to be friends with villains. Don't know how that works.
Friends
Don't
with
know why
villains?
that was. Yeah,
I'm
yep.
sorry.
I'm
What?
very scared and
I
very nervous
will.
about that. So you can kind of see like
I'm
this may
calling it
have
a
not.
cat, bro.
Yeah, maybe this game wouldn't have done well. So you can see that in a bunch of articles that are coming out lately. But yeah, they decided to restructure their development studios. They're trying to focus, like the official release said, they're trying to focus around their key franchises. So they called out Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones as like the four series or like pillars of what they're kind of focusing on.
Mhm.
So they're closing Monolith, Player First, and Warner Brothers San Diego. I mean, this is on the back of like some big L's already on the company's
Yeah.
part, with like Multiversus and Suicide Squad just not being good or not performing well. And then not only that, the industry is kind of known for a while that WB has been kind of shopping around their gaming division. So that on the back of everything that's happening now, what are your thoughts on this shakeup that's happening at WB?
All I can say is, while we may be saying goodbye to the Nemesis system, depending on rights holders and other such, it is like it's spawned some. It has spawned some capable imitators, namely the adversary system in Warframe with the Kuva Liches, the Sisters of Parvos, and the upcoming Technocyte Coda. So we've got something out there that can kind of, at the very least, I guess, carry the torch as far as that particular mechanic in modern games. But there there ain't much out there, if anything, that is quite like the Nemesis system, especially in the Middle Earth games. That was a great portion of the immersion of those games, and just some of the unintentional comedy that came from it was, it made those games beloved. I mean, I still have both Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, and I occasionally go back and play them just to have a random orc show up out the corner hollering, "Young man!" or
Yeah,
calling me man filth while trying to take my head off.
I'll be honest, like one of my favorite things about Shadow of Mordor especially was my wife's not like a huge gamer, but she loves watching like Conan O'Brien. He did a Clueless Gamer episode with
Mhm.
Shadows of Mordor, and he was playing with Kumail Nanjiani, and Kumail voices an orc in the game. If you didn't know that, hilarious video, just because they didn't change Kumail's voice at all. So it's like Kumail just shouting at you as an orc with his lines. It
That's
was really
amazing.
funny, but just the Nemesis system was on full display, and Kumail's a big gamer himself and called out like the Nemesis system by name. Like it was part of marketing early. They knew they had something special, and just nothing came of it from then. I mean, literally, the question I had for the panel, the follow up question was: is there another game mechanic system that was so interesting but so underutilized as Monolith's Nemesis system? You already hit the nail on the head. James, do you have something to say about that?
I was just looking up who owns the Nemesis system, and unfortunately, Warner Bros. Patented it in
They
2021.
did.
So
That's the biggest nail in the coffin that I was going to
yeah,
mention next. Like it was patented by them, and
yeah.
now it's God.
It's. I mean, I feel like they will bring that back in some way or form with some kind of Arkham game, right? the next Arkham game may have it, but it saddens me that Monolith is out of the picture just because it hits pretty close to home. It's in Kirkland, Washington, chat, and that's like next to Seattle, which is like a drivable distance from us. And I've actually been in that studio. My NDA is
Yeah,
up.
we both have.
Yeah, my NDA is up, so I can tell you all about it. But I did some testing for Scribblenauts, the second one. I can't remember what it's called. Showdown, Scribblenauts Showdown.
Nice.
And it was great. I had a great experience, great people. It was fun. It was like working on a school project, but playing video games at the same time, right? And what I remember from walking through that hallway was their production. Like, Shadow Mordor was there. They had trophies and awards for this thing in a glass case, right? And it was like seeing like the behind the scenes of like the games you were playing. Like, imagine like real people, real, what more can I say? Like the behind the scenes of where your games come from hits differently when you're there in person. Watching a documentary is all and good, but hits differently. And this is why I think I feel like it's a little bit more rougher. Like I don't like this, especially since like this is mostly Warner's fault, not Monolith. Because I'm a big cheerleader for Monolith. I think they do good work and they do a variety of things. Not just they're not a one trick pony, right? They have talent everywhere, right? And for WB to mess up and they get to suffer for that, I think that sucks. That's all I gotta say. It's BS.
Yeah, and there's been a bunch of conversations, not just in like our podcast and stuff like that, just kind of like developer versus publisher, the kind of like the expectations that come with it. We saw stuff like Concord's kind of the flip of that, where the company built that as like a proof of concept. Sony bought into it, and then it eventually came out to what it was. There was hands off from the publisher. There's also been conversations, especially during I remember when I first started contracting through Microsoft, when I was doing research stuff with them, how when Microsoft was buying all these companies up, all these development houses, it's kind of been the big push by them to bring in more talent and more IPs under their umbrella. They're too hands off. So there's always got to be a happy middle ground. But this does, I believe, like you said, fall very squarely on WB. On the email that the team sent out at Warner Brothers, their head of global streaming and games, JB Perrett, said the team needs to regain our credibility and swagger at producing great games, and blamed current financial difficulties on the product market fit and quality of too many of our new releases that really missed the mark. So at least they knew, because we mentioned Multiverses, we mentioned where this Wonder Woman game was going, Suicide Squad, but also they had that Harry Potter Quidditch Champions game that just found like no audience either.
Should have been in Hogwarts Legacy, bro.
Yeah, exactly. They've spun that out,
and,
to try to get it that way. So it's just like, keep in mind that Suicide Squad was, I think it was like roughly $200 million.
I don't even remember
the cost on that.
That's a fucking game right there.
Yeah, and then on top of that, Wonder Woman was already over the 100 million mark. Like, that's a massive amount of money on projects that were either bad or will never see the light of day. So like, just where's the direction in this? Where's what's going to happen? And like was mentioned before, they've been trying to sell off their gaming division for a while.
Yeah.
Right. So who knows where that's going to go? Who knows like where the heart was in that, where the dev team's just like getting things from on high again. It's like, hey, make it like this. We need that, live service money kind of thing.
I also think that this sets a bad precedence for WB to work with other studios. Like they're gonna look at this and be like, dude, they're very reckless with, we're pretty much being set up to fail, right? If they, I don't know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not in charge of any studio or anything, but from the patterns that we're seeing, is like WB's taking L's everywhere, left and right, but it's them. Honestly, it's them. They're forcing things that are like trendy, because that's what's hip, that's what sells, right? And then they're forcing these people that are like talented but not in that niche that they're good at, and then they're the bullet shield for the fans. I feel bad for Rocksteady, honestly, not for WB, is because they were forced to make something that they weren't destined to make, like, right? Because Kill the Justice League would have been a really cool game if it wasn't a looter shooter, right? If it was like,
well, again, this is
Gotham Knights, right?
I was about to say this. Yeah. This is also coming off of what happened with Gotham Knights. How that was going to be, how that was.
That's another one too. God.
It's like one of those things where like no we're really, it's like the money, the temptation of like, first of all, you get a job, a project which puts money in your pocket and feeds your family, right? I get that part, but like when you're forced to do something, one, maybe you're not passionate about or know nothing about, that's rough, because now you're put in a position where it's not up to you, it's up to the leaders, right? But now when did Justice League get announced, right? And it got pushed back and delayed, and here we are. Nobody liked it, right? And now Rocksteady can't come back from this, because I don't think a lot of gamers, I mean, I'm calling you guys a chat, tell your friends. There's not a lot of gamers that put that go past first level thinking where, oh, Rocksteady made a bad game, right? And then now they blame Rocksteady for that, right? And that's unfortunate, because we all know there's more to it than that, and we know they're talented because they have the legacy to show us that they have the talent. Dude, Arkham Knight was so good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just say these guys are trash when Arkham Knight was a masterpiece, and they were forced to make a looter shooter, a live service looter shooter that's out of their wheelhouse. That's messed up. Yeah, that to me, that's messed up. And I feel like if they switched that into an open world like Arkham Knight, but you can select the different suicide characters, man, people would have just ate this game up. That's what they wanted. That's what they expected, right?
Yeah.
So,
and as Andre is saying, there's people,
oh, you got muted. What's up?
Are getting more and more like projects that don't fit their skill sets, and being aren't in their background. That's not saying that companies and teams can't, adjust or try something new and succeed. Like, there's teams that have done that before, but this has been a huge thing the last, like, I want to say 3-4 years, especially. We're getting more and more games that are coming out from developers, like long tenured developers with a great track record, where these games are just not in their wheelhouse. They're trying to fit into what their publisher wants, or they tried to go in a direction that is the more financial choice, not as so much the creative choice. So there's definitely an argument to be had there, for sure. But before getting too far in the weeds, I'm sure we'll talk about it again. Just really wanted to take that moment. Keep in mind, Monolith was founded October 25th, 1994. 30 years ago. They've been around a long time. Their first game was on DOS.
Blood.
They made Blood. So I mean, they're best known for Blood. No One Lives Forever, the Fierce series. They made the Lithtech game engine. Tron 2.0, the Matrix Online. I remember playing.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did do the Matrix Online.
They did do Matrix Online. But Condemned 2, Fear 2, Gotham City Imposters, Guardians of Middle Earth,
AVP.
Shadow War. Yep. Yeah, it's sad to see a team that had such a long history of amazing games, and some maybe not so amazing, but still the team there have been doing work for a long time, and then this is how it goes out, is with this Wonder Woman game that seems like it was kind of shoehorned, couldn't really find its footing, a lot of money spent, and who knows, directives from on high from the team at WB that was maybe steering this in a direction that didn't work, and having to push back against that. So who knows? But rest in peace, Monolith. You were part of our lives. We do This Week in Gaming History, and you were definitely part of ours with some of these games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unfortunate. And yeah, and WB is, man, they've been on the what do you call this, the iron sights of a failing company lately too, because even Mortal Kombat's taken a hit, because their decision making skills of how to make certain specific things viable, like having a character in Mortal Kombat, for those that have not played it, I haven't played it either, but I've watched enough of it. Selecting a character solely based as an assist in a Mortal Kombat game sounds crazy, But like normally you can have them as an assist and tag into them, but now you have to download or maybe even purchase these characters that are just simply used for assist. It's insane, It's I don't know.
It's functions, not characters.
Correct. And the thing is, like, I think Ed knows this, and I think his hands are like literally handcuffed, right? Because I think he knows, like, after all this time, that they know what game or fighting game people want, right? Because they're seeing the lowest numbers right now for Mortal Kombat. 11 sold really well. But I think it was also the type of characters that were in it. The DLC was amazing. It had like, we had Terminator, right? We had all these like super cool like DLC characters everybody wanted. It looked the best game out of all of them, honestly, and that's what sells for those games, honestly. But for a lot of fighting game people, they were like, this gameplay is kind of weak, and Mortal Kombat 1 is kind of the same thing too. They have the same response. It's like this is not the Mortal Kombat I used to play. A lot of people say 10 is the best one as far as gameplay wise goes and speed, and hopefully Warner Brothers says, hey, that's what everybody likes. Let's make it that way. But we all know if it's not the most, profitable, they're not going to take that direction. So, cross my fingers, NetherRealm is the next one.
Yeah, I mean, the only news that we have from out of this is that Rocksteady is reportedly working and has pitched a new single-player Batman game. So at least that seems to be going in the right direction. But again, we'll see how it comes to release, and that's still going to be years away from coming to fruition. Yeah. So
I did hear that the thing on the board right now on the table for like their comeback is a remake of Arkham Asylum. That's what I heard. Because they literally want, it's the panic button, Final Fantasy or Square Enix had the Final Fantasy VII remake panic button,
the red button.
This literally, I was joking about this forever. Like, there's a big red button that Square Enix says we're out of money. This is what we need to make our money back. And I feel like Rocksteady, to get the respect and money back, that big red button is Arkham Asylum remake for sure.
Mentioning Squeenix, by the way, you asked earlier about Supreme Commander 2 on the PC.
Oh yeah, I remember that game now.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi RTS that was published by Squeenix.
and they did, and there's a new game similar to that now called like Rift something, like Rift Breaker, I think. It's very similar to that, but it's like a tower defense like RTS game. It's very interesting.
Well, you said Breaker, and all I think is Mecha Breaker because I just
I was going to bring that up too. Because we were talking about Zone of the Enders, and I was watching a few Mecha Break betas on Twitch over the weekend. Ace, have you not played Mecha Break yet?
I haven't had the chance to play it, but I've been watching a little bit of it. Looks dope. The PvP ain't for me.
It's PvEP.
PvEP?
Yeah, so they actually added a bunch of new modes in this beta. Before it was just like a 6v6 push the payload kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. This one they added like a big map, almost BR. Like I don't know how many teams there are, but you are a squad of 3, and you have objectives on the map to complete, and your opponents also have objectives on the map to complete, and they can either interfere with you or you can interfere with them. But the thing is, whoever can get the objectives done first. Now, from what I read,
like the PvP in Exo Primal.
Yes, very similar to that actually. And from what I read and saw is that the point of this mode, right, in the PvE, was to pretty much collect loot so you can play in PvP. So it's like, instead of like making you forced to buy certain things, you can unlock them in that mode, right? So you can equip your mech for better shit in PvP. Okay. Now, and then PvP gives you like money to do more shit in PvE. I think and I think that's super neat that they can kind of like utilize the synergy of like the gameplay. But so far, from what I'm noticing, like whether you like PvE or PvP, people are liking the other modes, right? But there is more immersion in the PvE because you're like a squad of 3, and then you have all these other mechs in the map like shooting at you, right? And you're like a mission based, right? And you have to extract your loot also. So there's a little bit of like intensity in that as well. The reason why I wanted to bring this up during Zone of the Enders is because this opens up a lot of collaboration with other mech related titles.
Yes,
right?
It does.
And a lot, of course, the given is, man, when are they going to make a Gundam version of this? And I was like, probably not. Let's be real. They made like the Overwatch Gundam game and didn't turn out so well, right?
Well, if they have some crossover with some classic characters from Gundam, like there's too many to choose from, sure, but like throwing in a couple from like popular series would be really cool. Like just going across eras every once in a while, maybe just one of the pilots. You can still do your mech in the game, but you can choose a Gundam pilot, like well-known one. Yeah, that just makes me really want to. What's that?
Or a skin.
Or a skin, yeah. A skin of one of them, like Gundam Wing. You just get Heroes Wing Gundam thrown in there just as like a skin would be really cool. I would love to see like a G Gundam
Yes.
arena style
Too far.
one. Like absolutely. Like
Um,
just super leaning into where they're from, their nationalities.
but
Like
I was
sure, great.
actually moving in this direction of like other IPs joining outside of Gundam for Mecha Break,
Yeah.
like Zone of the Enders.
Yeah,
You know,
like Zone
like,
of the Enders, Daemon X Machina,
yep,
Armored Core.
Armored Core, right?
Yeah.
Also, all the other like crazy anime mecha collaborations that they can make. It is a Korean game, I think, right?
Listen. If we by some miracle get one of the guy Melifs from fucking Escaflowne and Mecha Break, it's over.
I mean, like I said, there's enough mechs in this game that have like an archetype, right? That could fit into like either a skin,
Mhm.
right? Or just a guest mech, right? A collaboration. It's probably going to cost you like $20, right? For that mech, but like they know people are going to get it because they are fans of mecha. Like that's the whole
Yeah.
point of why you would do that. But yeah, looking at this gameplay, it is like action packed, super quick, like very much Zone of the Enders, right? It's like it's definitely more intense than Armored Core, but like it is a very immersive mecha game. And from what I'm seeing, like there's a variety of different mechs, and I was actually gonna shove this into now playing, which is a perfect segue for this. Is that they're like, for example, this one, the Tricera, it turns into a fucking fortress, which has a tank cannon on it and two chain guns.
That's
right.
awesome.
So yeah, and it's like super slow, but it's got super hard armor. And then we have one that has a lance that can turn into a shotgun into a lance. There's one that with a joust that can like drill your mech and push you across. It's flavor for everybody, and I feel like when you get a lot of like high level players in this game, you're going to be watching some real mecha fights happening. It's going to be super sick.
I really wish that I had the patience for this, just because seeing some of those battles, like it seems like there's way too much going on the screen, at least in some of the early trailers. When you're watching some of that like gameplay from the open beta, it looks like it's a little bit slower, and now I'm like, okay, I can get into this a little bit more. At first, it just looked like a rave and I had taken too much acid or something. There was just way too much happening on the screen. It's like there's no way I can parse any of this information, where I'm being shot from, where I'm attacking, no idea.
But yeah, just getting to see some of the higher level, like some of the higher level dogfights that'll occur in this game, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've also heard from like the people beta testing was that like the first beta didn't have controller support. They added it in this one, and a lot of the feedback was it is very daunting, but it's actually really easy to play.
Okay.
So I was like kind of confused at that. So, but that's very important, because when you see this game, you're like, man, this looks like there's a lot of controls, right? Your character's moving everywhere. There's a lot of, your HUD is all over the place, right? But they literally said playing this game on controller is very welcoming. So that's good
only
news.
controller like input that I need approved for this is plugging in your virtual on controllers. Like, let me put that in there. Like, I want the two yokes. Like, absolutely.
Day one by if my Steel Battalion controller can work on it.
Right? Oh no.
And I'm sure there's a nerd out there somewhere that's already modded that to play Mecha Break specifically. So props on you, my dude. That's all I gotta say. So, but yeah, that is pretty much the news for today, and all the other things. So, Mecha Break, it's free right now on Steam. Check it out. Play the beta. Give your feedback. It's one of the most important things, giving your feedback, because it helps make the game better and you feel like you're contributing. I did that with Elden Ring Night Raid. Who knows what they're going to do with the 2 matches I played, right? But it was important to know that like I couldn't play any matches around this time, and I live in this time zone, right? So that should tell you a lot about that. And my feedback on the Guardian, that class, and what I played for, because I only played it one set, and that's the class I played. Got to the first boss and got wrecked, because I was the only one left on my team. All right, anything else left for the order? I know we went a little bit extra tonight, so we're going to skip the tech for next we want to value your time and everybody's time. We don't want to rush anybody out here. So I just covered a little bit of now playing. Are you guys playing anything different from last time?
Well, for me, still Warriors Abyss. They actually did the first character drop. The first free character drop was yesterday.
Who was it?
Most of the Suma family from the Jin Kingdom. So Suma Chao,
nice.
John Hui. And I've already done a couple of runs with these characters, just going through trying out different builds, and I found a crazy speed build.
All right, and that's I think half the fun. It's figuring out like what kind of fun builds you can get. I think it's like your creativity. It's like catering how you kill,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's kind of the same thing with Vampire Survivors. That's like my game that I like playing.
Yep.
I haven't done the Castlevania DLC yet. Have you, Nick?
No, haven't yet.
Okay, that's like one of my goals.
And I've got plenty of goals for
Yeah.
this year for gaming that
Well,
I'm
I
not
mean,
going to be able to get around to.
It's for Vampire Survivors. That's
Yeah, no, I have wanted to. I should have bought it when it was on sale. But at the time, I was getting ready for Pirate Yakuza. And
Oh yeah. Oh, that's another game that's wild.
yeah, like
The demo.
I can't. Yeah, the demo's great. The reviews for it have been really solid too. So awesome. Of course, it's crazy, just like Majima is. So it fits. I have got nothing new. Like, because there's been so much on my feed lately about Civ 7, I've been replaying Civ 6 just to get my fix, because I'm not going to pay 70 for Civ 7 in its current state, and that's nothing against the team there. Just everything that's happening right now, and it seems like a lot of work still needs to kind of be done on it with the UI. There's still plenty of community feedback that's going to improve the game, and I know eventually it's going to be in a better spot. But because of that, it's just like I can't pick it up now on something that is going to be good eventually. For my time and my money.
Early access, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and I know that not every team can do that. It's not going to be a Baldur's Gate 3 thing. It's not a Larian Studios like the Firaxis team had to get that out, but it's baking now. It's still baking. So yeah, I've been replaying 6 and trying out different things. I mentioned before that I did the zombie thing. Hated that. So I've been going through and just going like random leader, see what I get, and see what kind of fun stuff I can do with it. Just kind of low key in the background. Nothing new besides
You turn into a roguelite.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right
It's interesting too, because I did the noob thing very early on, where you go like huge map, no turns limits, and then domination. I just wanted to destroy everything, but the end game in 6 especially drags so hard, so I just started going like multiplayer speed maps and just kind of messing around with it, just getting my 4x fix basically. So that's all I really had time for.
All right. Cool. One thing I will make sure to mention, not necessarily for now playing so much as coming soon.
Okay.
Monster Hunter Wilds.
Isn't that like next week?
This week.
Oh,
yep.
My bad.
Like, I'm going to be picking up my copy on Friday.
Yeah, and I imagine with the change with Dauntless too, there's going to be a good flow.
Yeah, there's going to be
people over from that to Wild. So
no, it should be.
I'm sure there was going to be already anyway, but now there's, with the servers shutting down and no more content, you're going to see more probably than usual. So I'd imagine it's probably going to set some sales records pretty quick.
It should be interesting because IGN gave it an 8, not a 7, which is good. But the review was like, it's too easy. And I was like, wow, there's going to be a lot of hunters going to take offense to this. So I'm interested when Ace gets his hand on it to see if that testament is true, right? Because this guy was like kind of arrogant about it. It's like, this game would have been scored higher if it wasn't easy. And I was like, okay. All right, we'll see we'll see about that.
Yeah, I saw that review, and my only thought was this. Wait for Master Rank.
Yeah, it's not even out yet. The difficulty is not even out yet.
Like there is going to be a Master Rank or a G Rank expansion, and when that happens, I want to see if this guy winds up getting filtered by the first monster once they make.
He's going to get Izuna dropped by the electric gorilla. That's what's
Hell, I'm waiting to see him. I'm waiting to see him get just dirt napped by Devil Joe, or catch a Valstrax Izuna drop and then see what happens.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty big one, man. Just looking at the launch window for like March too. There's a couple like bangers in there I know that we were talking about, but nothing on the level of like what Wilds is going to be bringing out.
Oh, Wilds is pretty much going to lock in like this first quarter, and especially the end of this month. But then again, March 20th, there's Assassin's Creed Shadows. That's still going to be a relatively big release. There's let's see, Xenoblade Chronicles Cross for the Switch. There's that remake.
Taylor Yumiya is coming out as well. I remember you talking about that, and that's been getting some buzz too from that
Yep,
fandom.
Yumiya's coming out.
I'm interested in Adamfall as well. That's end of the month.
And the first Berserker.
Yeah, Kazan.
Is that March?
Yeah.
That's March, right? First Berserker's March. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, first Berserker's March.
That's my title that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what I've been playing, I know you guys know I'm playing the A to Z Game Challenge, still playing Gears Tactics off stream. I'm kind of burnt out on it, honestly. I thought it was fun for the first 4 missions, but there's a lot of padding in the game, I noticed. Just forcing you to do side missions to level up. Well, there's no really purpose of it. Maybe I haven't experienced the full game yet, but I know there's like permadeath because they keep telling me to recruit more people, but none of my teammates are dying. So maybe I'm playing it too easy. I'm playing it on normal, right? Marvel Rivals, of course. The Thing and Johnny Storm just came out, so there's more gameplay on that. Diablo 4, finishing up my battle pass. I have 10 more levels left, and I should be done with that. And the other game I started playing was Werewolf the Apocalypse, which I'll be streaming tomorrow. And I don't know if you guys know familiar about Werewolf the Apocalypse, but apparently this was a tabletop game very similar to Shadowrun, but of course in the world of Earthblood.
Mm-hmm.
You play the werewolves fighting for Gaia, protecting the Earth. You're basically werewolf hippies, pretty much. And I feel like, honestly, when I play this game, I feel like I'm playing an early 2000s like Fox show. Like I'm playing Buffy, but not really Buffy. You know? That's kind of what I feel like when I'm playing it. It's very middle. You can tell they had out a budget because the combat is like very like God of War on the PlayStation, right? But there's nothing too exciting, nothing too bad about it. It's very mid. Yeah. It's like heavy on the mid. Okay, all right. Any closing statements for us guys? Otherwise, we'll do our outro and be out of here.
Hey, well, firstly, just thank you to everybody in the chat for hanging out with us for these last couple hours, for showing up for class. This was a big news day, not news week, just news day, and we're looking forward to getting feedback from y'all, hearing from y'all what you think of what we discussed, what your takeaways from the information, from the closures and just the big shakeups in the industry. Like, we want to get your feedback.
What your favorite Monolith Productions game was?
Yeah. Well, man, I think Andre's gonna say Shadow War. I have a guy on YouTube. His name is Vengeful Soul, and he's like been hitting me up on Twitter saying like, yeah, your gameplay made me want to play Shadow War again, man, and it's super fun. And I was like, oh, that's good. I like that because that happens to me all the time, also. So yeah, I'm glad it made you feel that way. But yeah, there's like I said, we've been talking about the industry. As far as my last statements go, I say, it's sad to see Monolith go. I got good memories with them. Hopefully they find better people, better publishers down the road that value, outside of the dollar bills.
Right? Hopefully we see Monolith take the same trajectory and, find the same luck as Tango Gameworks did.
Monolith should talk with Rocksteady and combine.
With the company closing, the assets stay with WB, so the team will go elsewhere.
That's rough.
So the talent will hopefully get picked up by some teams that value them a little bit more, or maybe they'll reform somewhere else with something different. Like there is a community up here in the Seattle area, especially. A lot of the devs kind of know each other from the different things. The different events you go to and stuff. I've been very lucky to meet a bunch of them as well. So, yeah, it's sad. The final thing I'm gonna just depart on is just like I wonder how much this League of Assassin's Creed with the discs are gonna affect the game when it launches. Like, even if it's rough and you get a day one patch that fixes a lot of the issues, this is 3.5 weeks basically of media churn of people talking about this in a way that's going to hurt your bottom line before the game even comes out. So we'll see. People can keep their heads down as much as they want, but it's the internet. It's going to get out there. So if you're an AC fan, shield your eyes.
I honestly think that if people have been looking forward to Assassin's Creed Shadows, they will get this game in some way or form unfinished to play it because they know it's going to get patched. They didn't wake up yesterday and be like, oh, the games don't get patched, right? Like they know it will get patched because they're getting it early off a truck on Facebook Marketplace, right? That's the thing. Like you got to be smart enough, like to know that. If you're not, I apologize. Get smarter. That's kind of like the thing about that is that's
you
the
just
reality.
get good people again.
Pretty much.
And because as much as there's all this tension with Assassin's Creed Shadows and a lot of drama, like I want Assassin's Creed to keep going. I eventually want them to go to like China. I want a Mayan one, right? That'd be super cool.
Dope.
Like jungle hasn't been really like established in Assassin's Creed. I want jungle. Be super cool. So yeah, I don't want them to stop. I just want them to be better, get better, be better, right? And like I said, fans can be crazy and toxic, but part of that is because they care, and instead of kind of brushing them off and maybe go, okay, well, look into that. That's all it takes sometimes. Just
the
tell
worst
us.
thing that could happen to any piece of media isn't hatred.
On both sides. If anything, I expect higher decorum from developers to be better and above the gamers, right? Because they don't know any better. They're kind of like yelling at you from an emotional standpoint because they care about the game. They don't know the truth, what you guys have to go through, and maybe you have to do some bad decisions that you're forced to, right? And you're not allowed to tell us either. So I can empathize with y'all, right? So just understand on both sides that the people don't want things to fail because they love the games that they want to play. Right. I want you guys to win. I want people to love the game. So just come out of this class this time, just knowing that like we're not two opposite sides of this gaming culture war that every YouTuber seems to be kind of like grifting on. Right. They love making videos about this culture war. But in reality, like, it's hard for some developers to say we have to do it this way because we're forced to do it this way and they can't say anything to us, right? But also at the same time, don't be sending death threats and be acting all crazy, right? These people don't deserve that, right? Even sometimes they're short with you, gamers, it's just a game, okay? And we all know, look behind me, there's always another game to play. and with that said, let's call it a night, guys. Let's see you next week. Keep playing video games, stay up, right? And the next time you see another gamer out there, instead of being salty, especially Marvel Rivals, give them a good old GG or get good. Got him. All right. Y'all have a good night, guys. Y'all take it easy. Peace out.
Class dismissed. See you next week.